home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Yes, I am Josh Hennig. I am in the 97.3 ESPN studios, hanging with Hennig. Boy, I hope everyone's being safe out there because the traffic, the exodus from the shore is real. This is more than just a normal Saturday turnover at the Reynolds in Shorttown. This was something else. I'm glad I left as early as I did. Those who are wondering, those who maybe didn't see my Instagram stories or didn't hear the radio ad, so I did want to address off the top of the show. We were planning to be in Seattle City. I was going to be on the promenade deck between 42nd and 43rd Streets, but because of the weather and because of just a lot of variables that are out of my control. I do want to say off the top of the show that we were going to be in Seattle today. We are not going to be there. And I say we out of compulsive habit because I'm so used to working as a producer or a co-host with people. But when I say we, I mean me. I'm the one who does everything for Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. So I still want to say thank you to Zia Nicola Pizza, Big Dipper Ice Cream, Auntie Anne's Pretzels, and the Juice Pod, because we will be out there tentatively. The plan is for August 1st, okay? But we will confirm that in the coming days. But, if you're still in the area, you're bouncing around town, make sure you stop by and say hello to them. Those businesses on the promenade deck in Seattle City. We'll be back out there in a couple weeks. Of course, next week, we will be live at Boulevard Super Liquors with Bird Gang Spirits, where you can meet Hollis Thomas and win a signed Jalen Hurts jersey. We'll be giving that away next week, and then we'll be back in Seattle the week after that. So, got a little business out of the way. Hang with Hennig, back with you here in the 97.3 ESPN studios. Coming up on today's show, the countdown to training camp. We'll talk some Eagles and NFL a little bit later this hour with Andy McNamara. We also got some Flyers and NHL offseason with Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio at 1 o'clock. The Ivy Rehab injury report. We'll dig deeper into the Brad Keller UCL tear coming up with Dr. Tom Adderley at 1:25. And then we will hit on the Phillies with Jeff Kerr coming up at 2:25. You didn't hear Jeff yesterday on the Phillies fastball segment, so he was kind enough to jump on today. So you missed him on the Sports Bash yesterday. He's bounced over here to Hang with Hennig today. And by the way, it's actually even more interesting because the Phillies announced, if you weren't listening to Locker Room with Billy Schwein before me, Nick Earnshaw read the press release that the Phillies have moved up the game time by an hour. So apparently the Phillies are trying to get ahead of the second wave of this weather system. Because those who don't know, the storms that are passing through the area are there's 3 tiers to them. So, and I don't want to get into a whole meteorology thing, but when you look at the radar, there's literally 3 different patches of storms that are all being pushed through the area. So I'm not trying to steal Nor'easter Nick's job or anything, but I'm just saying that, I'm watching the radar and I can tell what's coming. So the Phillies probably saw the same thing that I did, or at least they were told the same thing that I saw, and they decided it's in the best interest of everybody to move up the game. So, but speaking of the Phillies, I wanted to open with the Phillies conversation because of the fact that last night the Phillies didn't play. And there was a huge, massive takeaway that I had last night. And that massive takeaway is I can't believe that teams around baseball can score runs. And yet I'm just supposed to be okay with the Phillies' continued inconsistency. And I think part of the problem that we are going to run into as we progress through the weeks leading up to the trade deadline is the conversation about what the Phillies should do at the deadline. And I'm conflicted. And maybe you guys have a more clear thought on it at 609-403-0973. That's text board. We're streaming live on YouTube and X at Josh Hennig. So you comment on the YouTube stream as well. I'm conflicted about what the Phillies should do because of the fact that they have so many needs. How do you legitimately prioritize those needs? And for a team that it's a flawed roster. Let's get down to basics, okay? I said this last week. Dave Dombrowski needs to do something. I'll say it again. Because when the Phillies didn't play last night, you don't really have like a go-to. When the Phillies are not on in the summer, you don't really have like an assigned viewing. There's no schedule. The World Cup's pretty much done. So what did I do last night? I just, bounced around MLB TV. What I see? Red Sox win 10-0. White Sox win 12-4. Braves won 15-1. And the Braves had a relief pitcher who got a hit last night. Oh, and don't forget, the Washington Nationals won 23-4. The Giants, who are not a great baseball team, won 7-0. So wait a minute. That's to reappropriate LeBron James. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, 6 different games around Major League Baseball last night. All had teams score 7 or more runs. But yet I'm just supposed to be okay with the fact that the Philadelphia Phillies, as we know them, struggled to score 1 run on Thursday. This is a Phillies team that on that road trip before the All-Star break, the road trip they were forced to take because the World Cup came to town and invaded all of our lives. During that road trip, here is the rundown of the runs the Phillies scored. 6, 2, 1, 4, 5, 1, 2, 4, 5. You're noticing when I read those numbers off, very rarely did they score more than 5 runs. 6 different teams last night in Major League Baseball scored 7 or more runs. Now, listen, I'm not trying to downplay their other needs because the Phillies do need help in the bullpen for sure. And they could use one of those starters who can just eat innings at the back end of the rotation because Alan Hongel is not it. But as Doug Glanville said yesterday, former Philly, by the way, on SportsCenter, the Phillies do need offensive help.
The Philadelphia Phillies, they're a team that needs that outfield power bat. They lost Garcia early in the season. Can they pick up the slack by getting that right-handed bat or at least an outfielder to give them some more options to support Schwarber and Harper on the right side?
Because the fact is that the hitters you have right now are not good enough. Trey Turner has turned into an absolute embarrassment. The guy had 2 horrible errors on Thursday night, and then he hits 1 lousy home run because he can't get on base. Trey Turner is 3rd on the team in strikeouts. What are we paying this guy $300 million for? Apparently to strike out and to commit errors in the field. You know, Mike Gill on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN has talked about how Trey Turner might be the worst contract in the city. He might go down as one of the worst signings in Phillies history. Trey Turner has dropped almost 100 points in batting average and on base percentage from last year to this year. And that's a huge reason why you are in this predicament. Because Alec Boehm, who started the year horribly, then got hot, then cooled off. Trey Turner, basically been inconsistently bad all year. And when you live in a world where Derek Hill has it on better on base percentage than Trey Turner, that's why the offensive bat is becoming much, much more of a necessity to me than I think people want to admit. Look, we all know that this is a flawed roster, okay? And for as many times as Dombrowski wants to tell us it's a good club, for as many times that Bryce Harper says we got a lot of great talent on this team, the reality is the talent that you have on the team and the good ball club is not playing at a level that invokes any confidence. And so coming out of the All-Star break, when the Phillies lose that game to the Mets, it's deflating. And then you have no game yesterday. What are we doing? And now the schedule doesn't get easier because you got 2 more games with the Mets. And listen, divisional games are always difficult. And what makes it worse is that you were supposed to have faced the easy pitcher on Thursday. Historically, Sean Manaea has done very well against the Phillies. The Phillies team, as currently constructed, has 33 strikeouts and 132 at-bats against Sean Manaea. Among the biggest culprits, Bryce Harper with 4, Brandon Marsh with 4, JT Realmuto with 6, Kyle Schwarber with 4, Edmundo Sosa, for some reason, has 4 strikeouts, and good old Trey Turner. We can always count on him because he struck out 6 times against Sean Manaea in his career. Oh, and then don't forget your Sunday matchup when poor Alan Hongel is being asked to save this rotation again because the Phillies don't have the necessity depth at the back of the rotation. You got Nolan McLean, who had a very bad start to the year, but has really rounded in the form. And we know the Phillies, for as inconsistent as they are, Nolan McLean has only given up more than 2 runs once since June 1st. 2 earned runs, only once since June 1st. And if you're wondering how many starts that is, that's 6 starts. He's pitching well. Oh, but the schedule's getting better. You get the Los Angeles Dodgers for 3 games next week. Then you get a day off before the New York Yankees and their fans invade Philadelphia next weekend. And don't forget, we'll do the LeBron thing again. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 of those games are nationally televised broadcasts. So now the whole world gets a chance to see how inept you are. Get ready, Philly fans. It's going to be a rough road before the deadline. Don't forget, they had the Marlins to start their road trip. The Marlins who are nipping at your heels into the division. So you got to finish the Mets series. Then you got 3 difficult series after that before you even go to Baltimore ahead of the deadline. But yeah, let's be patient with Dave Dombrowski. 609-403-0973. That is the text board. We're also streaming live on YouTube next at Josh Hennig. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Jeff in Ocean City says, there's no rain here, so I'm not leaving the beach. Well, Jeff, hate to inform you, but a lot of people did leave the beach already. And based on the picture you sent me, it looks like you and your family are the only ones on the beach. Kind of gives you an idea of what we got going on here with this weather pattern. Person didn't leave their name, so we'll just say anonymous texter at 609-403-0973 says, yeah, the Yankees game was 2-1. There were low-scoring games yesterday, so stop. The Phillies lead the league in shutouts. Turner is terrible when he knocks in only a run, and he's the problem, yet he's a 296 hitter. Okay, first of all, unless Trey Turner is paying you money to text in, I don't understand your obsession with defending Trey Turner. Trey Turner's having a horrible year. I don't care what his batting average is in the playoffs, because a lot of those years he was in the playoffs was with other teams. What does what Trey Turner did with the Nationals and the Dodgers matter to what he's doing in 2026? Anonymous texter, number one. Number two, I guess you're okay with Trey Turner constantly committing errors and striking out. Congratulations, texter. You found some stats and nitpick and make your point. It doesn't change the reality of what I said. Cool. You don't like what I said. You didn't put your name on the text. No argument to be had there. I mean, did you really text in to tell me that Trey Turner has a 296 batting average in the postseason? What does what Trey Turner did in postseasons past have any consequence of what they're doing right now? Listen, I don't care what Trey Turner's done in the postseason. I'm talking about what he's doing right here, right now, and he stinks. His batting average has dropped off 100 points since last year. Almost 100 points. Probably more like 82. His on-base percentage has dropped off almost 100 points since last year. So again, what does his postseason batting average have to do with anything? I guarantee you that guy's being paid by Trey Turner to text in. Trey Turner apparently is a troll listening to 97.3 ESPN. One more text squeezed in at 609-403-0973. Joey D. in Ventnor chimes in that the Phillies have the best record in one-run games this season. I guess it's more of a pitching and or luck. I can't remember the Phillies holding this random record. It is a random record that they're so good in one-run games. But I think that's a huge credit to Duran. You have a great closer, right? I think it's a credit to the fact that you have some really good starting pitching, right? Zach Wheeler's having an amazing year. Christopher Sanchez, he's having a great year. Luzardo's a really good pitcher. And you know what? If Aaron Nola can find some semblance of consistency, you're probably going to win more games than you're not if you have a normal offense and Aaron Nola is giving you 6 innings, only allowing 3 runs. But that's like playing roulette at this point. So trusting Aaron Nola is difficult. All right. We'll get to more text coming up a little bit later in the hour. 609-403-0973. Of course, we are live on YouTube and X at Josh Hennig as well. Hang with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN as always. Being brought to you by my friends over at the law offices of Craig A. Altman. Listen, when you're driving around today, you got to be careful. The traffic is absolutely nuts out there. So something bad does happen to you. Car accident, slip and fall at work. You need to make sure you have the tough lawyers who can handle the tough cases. Because the insurance companies, they have a game plan. So who's on your side? Well, how about a law firm that says you pay nothing unless they win? At the law offices of Craig A. Altman, 856-327-8899. Law offices in Violin, servicing all of South Jersey, unlike the lawyers you see on television where there are these fancy suits, but then they hand you off to somebody you never heard of. That's not how it works with the law offices of Craig A. Altman, 856-327-8899. Or you can get your free consultation right now at craigaltmanlaw.com. Hanging with Hennig here, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. And we are streaming live on YouTube and X at Josh Hennig. Coming up on the other side, we'll check in on the NFL and the Eagles. We are counting down to training camp. You guys know me, huge football fan, love football. We'll get into it more with Andy McNamara from the Sick Podcast coming up next here on 97.3 ESPN.
This weekend on ESPN Radio, two iconic franchises kick off the second half in the Bronx.
Way deep and out of here. Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers are in New York to face Ben Rice and the Yankees.
And he drives the pitch. Deep right field. Way back. Gone. Home run. Ben Rice.
The Dodgers and Yankees. Coverage begins tonight at 7:30 Eastern and tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball all season on 97.3 ESPN.
Whether you are stocking up for a summer party, a day at the beach, or that golden hour dinner at your favorite BYOB restaurant, your one-stop shopping destination where I go for every occasion is Boulevard Super Liquors. Located on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge, Boulevard Super Liquors has the best selection of craft beer, whiskey, vodka, wines, and tequila in all of South Jersey. Plus, they are minutes from Garden State Parkway, exit 25, so you can easily stop into Boulevard Super Liquors on your travels all around South Jersey. Family owned and operated for 4 generations, Boulevard Super Liquors is my go-to for the best selection at the Jersey Shore. And don't miss your chance to meet former Eagles player Hollis Thomas thanks to Bird Gang Spirits, plus special prize giveaways when Hanging with Hennig broadcast live on Saturday, July 25th at Boulevard Super Liquors. On Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge, the best selection of beer and spirits in South Jersey.
Making your home look brand new is what Work of Art Construction can do for you. Ready to remodel your bathroom or have a kitchen makeover? Art Masker has 40 years of experience in construction and knows how to make your home look like a work of art. Want to install a new back deck or invest in a new front door? Just call Art Masker at 609-788-4271 to learn more. Visit Work of Art Construction on Instagram to see how Work of Art Construction can make your home look brand new. Beautify your home with Work of Art. Call him at 609-788-4271 and let them make your home truly a work of art.
Is your trading stopping you from shopping? It's time to drop in some Matt Blatt Nissan.
Don't freak out about your old car. Trade out. Matt Blatt Nissan and Matt Blatt Infinity can get you out. Get up to $4,000 over Kelly Blue Book Fair Trade value for your old car. Come see us today at Matt Blatt Nissan and Matt Blatt Infinity on the Black Hole Warriors Pike in Egg Harbor Township.
It's time to drop in some Matt Blatt Nissan.
Each trade for the purchase of select models expires 1 day.
With other language learning apps, I was just playing games. I wasn't really learning. Babbel's different.
Babbel was designed by over 200 language learning experts to be the most effective way to learn another language.
Every time I open the app, I can choose to work on my writing, speaking, or listening. And it saves my mistakes for me to review, so I'm constantly improving. Before Babbel, I thought I just wasn't good with languages. But now I'm speaking French. Tout ça, c'est grâce à Babbel.
Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Summer's here and the heat is on. Attila's Gyms has got you covered with top-tier equipment and their legendary old-school vibe. Whether you're hitting the beach or hitting a personal record, they've got everything you need to stay strong while on vacation. And best of all, no contracts, just fitness on your terms. With 5 convenient locations, Wildwood, Sea Isle, Ocean City, Egg Harbor, and Galloway, your next workout is minutes away. Join Attila's Gyms today.
Hey, Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit.
Okay, rock star. Let's look at your account.
When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything.
Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Cross County Connection presents 6 new South Jersey Connect shuttles, providing fare free transportation across southern New Jersey. New shuttles include Vineland to Pleasantville and Burlington County Morristown to Pennsauken, connecting residents to employment centers, colleges, healthcare campuses, retail destinations, government services, and NJ Transit hubs, all at no cost to riders. For more information, contact SJTA at 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com.
You're hanging with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
I want my picks back. I want David Putnam.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
All my picks back, and I want David Putnam just because I feel like it.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah, I am. Haven't I proved that already?
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, we are back in the 97.3 ESPN studios. We will be back on the road the next 2 weeks. Next week, we'll be back at Boulevard Super Liquors for our Bird Gang Spirits partnering event at Boulevard Super Liquors at the foot of the Ocean City 31st Street Bridge, where you can meet and greet with former Eagle Hollis Thomas, as well as stock up for Night in Venice weekend. And the weekend after that, we will be back in Sea Isle City between 42nd and 43rd Streets at the Promenade Deck Shops. Thanks to Xenocola Pizza, Big Dipper Ice Cream, the Juice Pod, and Annie Ann's Pretzels. But right now, we'll get into the football. We're counting down the training camp. And actually, there's a team that's already reported the training camp recently. Yeah, the rookies have reported in Seattle. We'll talk some football right now with my guy, Andy McNamara. You know it's football season approaching if Andy McNamara is back on the show. Andy, my friend, how you doing today?
Josh, doing good, brother. Yes. Hey, it's a middle of summer training camp, just about ready to go. Fantasy. I just did my first fantasy football mock draft about an hour ago as well. So it's starting to kick up, man.
Of course you did a mock draft recently.
Didn't go well either. I was like, I'm glad I got that. Glad I got the kinks out of that one.
Right, exactly. So before we get to anything specific, what for you is like the biggest storyline or question heading in the NFL training camp? Like, is there a player or a storyline that Andy McNamara, excluding the obvious, you're the host of the Sick podcast covering the Browns. Obviously, we cover the Eagles here on 97.3 ESPN. But like, is there like a bigger picture storyline that you're curious about?
I'm very interested in the New York Giants situation with Harbaugh coming in. I think that is such a wild card situation because we've put so much into, okay, Harbaugh, keys to the castle. Here you go. Dysfunction, really not being on track since Tom Coughlin, for being honest about it, right? And so now, what does it mean with Jackson Dart year 2? Scatterbo coming back. Is Malik Neighbors going to be healthy? What does it mean? Harbaugh bringing in his guys, Isaiah Likely as a tight end that I like. I think that is a very interesting spot to see how much does Harbaugh actually make a difference for the team and in the division. I don't expect them to make the playoffs, but Josh, I'm not sure what the over-under on win totals is right now for the Giants. But boy, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them at 7 or 8. I'll be honest. I think they make a jump.
And you know what's funny is that I'm glad you mentioned the Giants because that's the team that I'm very curious about. Actually, it's the NFC East, but because we always see teams that were bad that make the postseason next year. And so You're always trying to look at these teams, and we'll get into over-unders when we get closer to the actual season. But like the idea is that when you're looking at those over-unders, look at these teams, Andy, you know as well as I do that when we're looking at these teams, you got to look very, very closely at, okay, who's going to have a bounce back? Because there's always a team or two that has that bounce back. And I think the Giants are primed to maybe be one of those teams, especially considering, like you said, John Harbaugh is the first legitimate head coach they've had in a decade.
Yeah, for real. And I think we look at other teams, teams that haven't made the playoffs and do. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a real obvious one because the NFC South is so weak. You got new head coach Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta coming from my Browns. How does that equate? I think the Buccaneers win that division. But, if I put my, my fantasy football hat on, Josh is a QB2. And we talked about this on my show on millions.co/Andy McNamara. Check it out. Tyler Shuck as a QB2 on your fantasy team, I think is really interesting. This is a guy, and the Saints aren't a real, they're not a big market team, not getting a lot of attention, weak division. I think very sneakily Tyler Shuck could be a fantasy football get for, you get your top guy and then maybe a bye week, or I think he could pop up a little bit. So Shuck is somebody I want to look at too.
Also with the NFC, so we know about, we'll get to the Eagles in just a minute, but obviously the Rams are getting the most headlines, right? But the Rams are also in a division that's going to be tough. And there's a part of me that wonders, is the NFC West going to cannibalize themselves and then open the door for the Eagles and let's say whoever wins the NFC North and the NFC South to maybe make things a little easier for them? Because in the football season, you know how it is. When teams beat up on each other, it makes them a little weaker in the postseason.
Sure. I don't think the NFC West is as tough as it was a year ago. Now you have the defending Super Bowl champions, Arizona Cardinals. That's easy. If they win 3 games, I'll be surprised. That's a terrible football team. But you look at who they drafted on the running back side, right? I think that is a real opportunity for this team to build. But the Arizona Cardinals are terrible. 49ers, until they stay healthy, Josh, if the odd season they stay healthy, they go to the Super Bowl. But they can never stay healthy. So, I don't know. You look at the Rams, though, all in. You do that Myles Garrett trade, you bring him in. And how refreshing, not that Eagles fans are, hard done by, but if you look at overall for your sports team, pick your sport, how refreshing for a team to say, no, we're not planning on 5 years. We're not the future plan. Today is we're going to win a championship. We're planning right now. And if it doesn't work, that sucks. But we're going for it now. Myles Garrett is a now move that takes that defense, which is already good, to another level. Best defensive player in the NFL, bar none. You lose Jared Verse, heck of a talent. He's off to Cleveland. But Myles Garrett, that move, all depends on that back and the nagging injuries that come in and out with Matthew Stafford. Boy, man, you look at those Rams, I'm with you. Seattle's, fun. I think they've been able to know what they have in Sam Darnold and not put too much on their plate. I think it's a fantastic coaching job. He can get you to a point, but they have the idea and have proven it that you don't have to put too much on Sam Darnold. So I think really it comes down to the Rams. Then I put the Seahawks kind of underneath, and the 49ers are the wild card.
Andy McNamara from the Sick Podcast joining us here on 97.3 ESPN at Andy MC81 on the X platform at Andy MC Sports on Instagram. I think I got all the handles right there.
I think so.
We'll also get to Andy's latest venture coming up a little bit later in our conversation with millions.co. But Andy, when you think about the Eagles, we just mentioned them. I think the Eagles, I'm excited because to me, people are acting like this bringing in a new offense is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with a team that you and I both know underachieved last year, an offense underachieved last year. And, for as much as the A.J. Brown dark cloud hovered over the offseason, the reality is that he's not here anymore. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You can now move on and do something more with this team. So I'm excited to see what the offense looks like.
I am as well. And so for good franchises, Josh, you have to refresh at times, right? You have to refresh either the same voices or you just have to tweak something to keep it fresh and going. Not a rebuild, but you retool and you go on. And for the Eagles, the A.J. Brown, we know A.J. Brown's a heck of a wide receiver, right? So on the field, phenomenal. But getting older, so you make the deal. Now what do? Now you have Devonta Smith, who's still in his prime. You got Mekhi Lemon coming in, who's wasn't my favorite wide receiver, but I like the fit on the Eagles. A little smaller, but zippy. You can put him inside, outside. You can throw him all over the place. You pick up Wicks in free agency. Elijah Moore is a nice slot. Hollywood Brown, bit of a wild card guy too, right? So you have the pieces there, and you got Dallas Goedert, but now you got the successor behind him in Eli Stowers. And I think that is a well-planned out roster where you are still in, hey, we can make a run at a title right now. Eagles are still, I consider them, wouldn't surprise me at all to get back to the Super Bowl. But you're also planning for the future. So this is what the good teams do. Then you keep rolling, and then all of a sudden you look back 10 years. How the heck have the Eagles been good for a decade? Well, they keep playing. They don't let themselves get old, and they keep doing that. So I like, of course, we like the Howie Roseman draft. Of course we do. That's what he does. But overall, I think this is a team that's built for now. And we talked about it in the offseason too, a little bit earlier. People are sleeping on Jalen Hurts. Not us two. I think this is going to be a very surprising in a good way for Eagles fans to see what Jalen Hurts does with this retweaked offense.
Yeah, the trio of original Jalen Hurts supporters dates all the way back to when we used to do game night every week here on 97.3 ESPN. Because I remember during that draft, it was both you, me, and Emery Hunt. We were all taking turns on the show each week talking about Jalen Hurts. So it's funny how, hey, listen, guess what? We're giving away Jalen Hurts signed jersey next week at Boulevard Super Liquors, thanks to Bird Gang Spirits. So, a little symmetry there by you.
I want in. I look, if I were to have one non-Browns piece of memorabilia like a jersey, it would be a Jalen Hurts. I'll tell you.
You got to drive down from Canada and escape the forest fires?
I might. You know what's funny? It's funny in whatever way. It's actually worse in Cleveland than it is where I am, an hour east of Toronto, because it's northwest. So the winds must have taken it down. So it was a bit hazy here, but not terrible. But man, what a mess! Whether it's California, Northern Canada, whatever.
I just think it's funny that I did not plan it this way, but I have two Canadians on the show today, so it's like, I got Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio coming up.
I used to interview Scott all the time on Sportsnet. Good,
yeah,
great guy, love Scott.
Yeah. So I got two Canadians on, and then we still get the haze down here for the forest fire.
Is it bad for you guys? Does it smell smoky?
It's still smoky, not as bad as it was a couple days ago. It was really getting bad like Wednesday night and on Thursday, like to the point where for me at least, it wasn't much my breathing as much as my eyes. Like my eyes were just like watering. You were outside too long. And then you're trying, it's like people with pets, right? You see the people with the pets trying to like usher their pets in. It's like, come on inside. You're driving around the neighborhood, and like the animals. And of course, the animals are like, what? Why do I have to come inside?
Yeah. You're going to die. That's why. Get in.
Right, exactly.
Little pocket poodle. Yeah.
As someone infamously once said, let's get it back to the birds. The other reason why I'm a high on the Hurts thing is, and Andy, I want to get your perspective on this because you're someone who, during your time covering the Browns, how important it is, and the difference is when the quarterback and the play caller are not on the same page, right?
Yeah.
And so in Philadelphia, what did they do this offseason? They didn't just hire Sean Mannion. During OTAs, they brought in Lincoln Riley. So Lincoln Riley spent time with Jalen Hurts, with Sean Mannion, with Nick Sirianni, and Lincoln Riley is one of the few coaches who's gotten the most out of Jalen Hurts during his 10 different coaches who's been in his ear calling plays. So to me, I think part of the Eagles' success is going to parlay into, hey, this is a collective effort. The quarterback is bought in. The play caller is trying to do what the quarterback and he can do best together. And the head coach is basically just, letting them do their job, because at the end of the day, nobody wants Nick Sirianni interfering in this offense.
Right. And Sirianni has to be the conductor. Make sure it stays on track, right? So this is such a great opportunity for Jalen Hurts, especially if he is fully bought in. And you were saying before, excited about that. Now you have a core. I still don't understand the lack of appreciation for Jalen Hurts. The guy's gotten to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. Hello, what more do you want, right? How many Super Bowls has Josh Allen been to? 0. Lamar Jackson, 0. What does the guy got to do? Maybe he does more this year and takes it up. And I have to say too, I really like that addition of Andy Dalton as a backup. I think that having that depth there You got Tanner McKee, who we expect you always bring up once in a while. At some point, it's gonna get traded. But you got Andy Dalton as a nice little veteran voice who's done it all too. So I think the Eagles' offense is in a really good spot. Provided health stays as it is or whatever. But no, it's an exciting look. Saquon Barkley, of course, we didn't mention. Bigsby has a bit of a change of pace there. Even Dameon Pierce is fourth on the depth chart. Not an exciting ad, but a really nice depth piece to keep that going. So those are sometimes later in the season, the overlooked additions that prove to pay off at some point.
Couple more for Andy McNamara before we let him go. Again, check out the Sick Podcast. Follow him on X at AndyMC81, Andy MC Sports on Instagram. What do you do with the Dallas Cowboys at this point? Like, the Cowboys are a team that always feels like they're overhyped, they're over talked about, but it feels a little different this time because they got a new defensive coordinator, former Eagles coach Christian Parker, right? You have an offense that at least looks like they're trying to reinvest in the offensive line. And, whether you like these lists or not, the reality is a lot of these quarterback lists, right? They rank Dak Prescott very highly. Mm-hmm. Dak Prescott is a well-respected guy around the leagues, put up big numbers in recent years. George Pickens at least looks like he's currently still on good behavior. So, to me, I don't know what to do with the Cowboys because so many times we've heard them overhyped, and yet the NFC East is probably come down to the Eagles and Cowboys like it always seems to. So what is a realistic assessment of who the Cowboys are heading into 2026?
Well, that Cowboys front office, and we make fun of Jerry Jones all the time, right? Crazy Jerry and all that. But you look at what they did in this draft. Heavy investment on defense. Like Caleb Downs of Ohio State, safety, absolute stud. Based on position group, he wouldn't have been a first overall pick. But from what I'm like, Matt Patricia, Buckeyes defensive coordinator, saying, look, this guy, he can return kicks too if you want him to. But his talent level and the versatility he can provide in the backfield is something I don't think we're talking about enough. Then they had two edge rushers at the Malachi Lawrence in the first round, then swing back in the third with Barham out of Michigan. And so the offense, I think, is going to be good. I think they're going to be able to score points. Can the offensive line, is it rejigged enough? Is it fixed enough to where it used to be a big strength? We'll have to see. But you have the pieces there, I think, to line up to still score points. Now, the running back position, I'm not super excited. But, Javonte Williams is a 2. Malik Davis, okay. Jaden Blue, the running back spot is kind of a weak point. But maybe if you go system-based and you get enough out of the running game, CeeDee Lamb is your guy. Pickens is a stud when he's behaving. Flournoy, nice slot guy. And then if you get Jake Ferguson healthy. A couple years ago, Jake Ferguson was an absolute stud at tight end. So you look at the offense, I think it's going to be fine. But it's that defense that now is starting to get me interested. I'm like, okay, you got Caleb Downs. You got Malik Hooker if he's healthy. And you're able to slide in these other draft picks as well. So I think it's the defense for Dallas that is going to be the thing to watch, that maybe a few weeks in we're like, oh man, they're scoring points, but it's that defense that we're watching.
Andy, before I let you go, because I know you cover the AFC North very closely, who is the favorite to win the North? Because right now, I got to be honest, I don't know what Baltimore is going to be. I mean, first time without John Harbaugh in almost 20 years at this point.
Yep.
The Bengals look good on paper, but I mean, are they going to stay healthy? I don't know. And the Steelers are intriguing, but I'm not going to act like, Aaron Rodgers, final season is going to be anything more than a swan song.
Right. And really, outside of the Bengals, the other three teams all have new head coaches, right? Browns, Steelers, and like you mentioned, the Ravens. So Lamar Jackson, I think, is starting to has hit the mountaintop. I think he's starting to go down the other side of it. That doesn't mean he can't be good. To me, it's the Bengals division to lose. I still think it's wide open. Not buying in on the Steelers. I think this is, without Mike Tomlin for the first time in how many years as well, like Harbaugh, right? I keep hearing, oh, the Steelers always finish 500. Well, they did under Mike Tomlin. I don't know what they're going to do under Mike McCarthy. I don't know what they're going to do under Aaron Rodgers with it if he goes down. you have two super raw young quarterbacks, both who I like, big body dudes, but you don't know, right? And so I think on paper, it's got to be the Bengals. If Joe Burrow stays healthy. Remember, really, like the one year he stayed healthy, they went to the Super Bowl, right? So if we look at it, that offense is still ready to roll. Burrow healthy, stud. Chase Brown, stud. You got a nice backfield. Jamar Chase, monster. T. Higgins, compliment. Gesicki's fine, and Sample, it's tight end. It's still, they've made additions to the defense, the Bengals have. But is it enough? And that's where the question is going to come in. Is it enough? We know they can score, but, they score 40, but they give up 45. It's a problem.
Of course, the Bengal fans will say anything is better than last year. So for some of those,
people say that, but the other team a bit north of them in Ohio, I can tell you, it's not necessarily. It can get worse. It can get worse.
Yeah, you could have Jared Verse saying we have a superstar quarterback competition.
Hey, I love that he's bought in. I love that he's saying.
He's bought in. I just don't know.
I
just feel like he got sold swampland.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Browns, and you know what, man? If you get some sort of lightning in a bottle, which is a big if, and we don't pick based on ifs, but everything else on that team is almost in place. Josh, the defense is still very good. The offense, with the additions, the rookie of Concepcion, of Boston, of Jerry Jeudy, of Harold Fannin another year, the backfield, Quinshon Judkins, you have everything starting to form. It's just, do I go with Deshaun Watson, who's been terrible on last year of his ridiculous contract, or Shedeur Sanders, who went 3 of 4 and might not be getting a proper shot? I would rather see Shedeur Sanders.
And also played in front of a garbage offensive line because the whole offensive line was injured last year.
And now you got 5 new totally rebuilt offensive line. I'd rather Shedeur, like Josh, it doesn't make sense to me. Why do I want to see a washed up Deshaun Watson one more year? I know Deshaun Watson isn't the future. Maybe Shedeur Sanders could be with a proper training camp, and then I don't have to spend a quarterback. Like maybe, or it shows, he's okay. I still need to get a QB.
Listen,
give me the answer with Sanders.
Listen, you brought up before, and I'll just say it before I let you go, because we got to get to the commercial break. But, it's one of those things where your owner is Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy Haslam is also the guy who approved the Bucs to give Gary Trent a massive contract now being investigated by the NBA. So why should anyone be surprised that Jimmy Haslam is also pushing for Deshaun Watson to get starting opportunity? Nothing's right. All right, really quick, Andy, before we get out of here, tell everybody about millions.co.
Yeah, man, I've been rolling with Millions last couple of weeks. Sensational platform. I had Josh on the other week too. Millions.co/Andy McNamara. And I have it posted all over my social media. The content is flying off. We got shorts, we got shows, interviews with an incredible crew of people. Tons of content coming. So please follow me there. Millions.co/Andy McNamara. And I got all the links, on Twitter and Instagram, like Josh said.
Awesome. Andy, appreciate you jumping on, my friend.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Of course, hanging with Hennig, we have Andy McNamara throughout the entire football season here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of CILC. We are streaming live on YouTube and X at Josh Hennig. We'll get you the Phillies lineup coming up on the other side, plus the latest LeBron news rumor. I don't even know what to do with this. Also, Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio join us coming up in about 11 minutes from now. All that and more still to come here on Hang with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN, being brought to you by Cross County Connection, presenting 6 new SJ Connect shuttles, providing fare free transportation across southern New Jersey. Connected jobs, colleges, healthcare, shopping, government services, and NJ Transit hubs, all at no cost to riders. For details, call 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com.
The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street is Stone Harbor's most complete entertainment experience. Great food, fun, and libations, and newly remodeled for 2026. The same great owners and all your favorite menu items remain, and now we've taken things up a notch with a brand new bar, new sound system, 36 brand new 4K TVs, and more. No matter where you sit, you always have a perfect sight line to the big game, and you've got to try our mouth-watering new menu items. Start your meal with blackened scallops, homemade fried pickles, or a cheeseburger flatbread. Try our new Chicago-style dog or the Mary Ann sandwich. sandwich, a chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, and sharp provolone on world-famous Rando's Bakery Atlantic City bread. The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill sources only the top ingredients and serves up the best quality food. Voted best wings of Stone Harbor and the Jersey Shore by Lord of the Wings. Prime rib nights Friday and Saturdays, rib nights on Sundays, and Mike the Magician Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The newly remodeled Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street in the heart of Stone Harbor. Open 11:30 a.m. till midnight, 7 days a week. Go to stoneharborbarandgrill.com or call 609-961-3534 for more.
Something good to know from First Bank of Sea Isle City. We have all of today's innovative banking products just like the big banks, but we offer something they can't. A personal community focus. Let's get you started with Bill Pay. You save time when you pay your bills online. It's fast, easy, and convenient. First Bank of Sea Isle City. A community bank that delivers more for you every day. Personal service, today's technology, from the people who truly care. Learn more at firstbankseaisle.com.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You've got a big day, so you use Unstoppable Scent Boosters to give your laundry nonstop freshness. So no matter how long the day goes, you
can't stop this power, this walk, this pose, this strut, this look, this talk.
Your clothes will be so fresh you can confidently strut into that end of the day meeting like a
bosses. Let's talk business in my office.
Add new Unstoppable beads to your wash for 24-hour nonstop freshness so you can smell unstoppable.
Get ready for an unforgettable summer at Ocean Casino Resort. Watch as we light up the sky with patriotic drone shows every Friday in July in celebration of America's 250th birthday. Visit theoceanac.com for more details.
Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The world's biggest soccer tournament has arrived, and you can trade the entire tournament on Kalshi. You can trade every match from the opening stage all the way to the final. France is currently trading at over 16% to win it all, meaning a $100 trade pays out $590 if they win soccer's biggest prize. On Kalshi, you're trading against other people in a live market. No house, no odds makers. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code TURF to get $10 when you trade $10. KALSHI. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
Fishing season's here. Get everything you need at the Bait and Tackle Shop at Utch's Marina in historic Cape May. Come to Utch's for a huge selection of spinning and conventional rods and combos for the boat or the surf with top brands available like Penn, Tsunami, Ocean Max, Shimano, and more. Utch's Marina has all your fishing needs. Live bait, frozen bait, rods, reels, and lures too. Prepare for your next fishing experience. Come see us today at the Bait and Tackle Shop at Utch's Marina, located at the foot of the bridge in Cape May. Back to school starts now. Get long-lasting battery life on the Dell XPS laptop powered by Series 3 Intel Core so you can work from anywhere. Now starting at $699 with exclusive student pricing starting at $599. Complete your setup with savings on select monitors and must-have electronics and accessories. Limited time deals and free shipping on PCs and more await you at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. Winning teams know consistency matters, and that's exactly what you'll find at Key Acura of Atlantic City. My friend Rocco and his team have built a loyal fan base of repeat customers by doing things the right way year after year. Acura delivers the kind of performance, precision, and dependability you can count on, and the team at Key Acura backs it up with outstanding customer service. Go see for yourself. Key Acura of Atlantic City, the small but friendly dealer. Tilton Road, EHT, online, KeyAcuraofAtlanticCity.com.
Now back to Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
I don't want them to gain another yard.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
You blitz all night.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm going to refer to this as a nugget, okay? This is not news, okay? I'm going to call this as a nugget because Nick Earnshaw brought it to my attention. So, apparently, according to John Clark, Sixers owner Josh Harris had what he's calling a, quote, brief, friendly conversation with LeBron James yesterday at a VIP event. Now, what a brief, friendly conversation is, I have no clue. I don't know if that means they talked about the Sixers. I don't know if Josh Harris talked business with LeBron. I don't know what that means. But apparently, the Sixers owner had a one-on-one for a quote, brief, friendly conversation with LeBron James yesterday. I don't know what that means. I really don't. I do know what the Phillies lineup is for today. Again, the Phillies are playing. So for those who didn't hear the news, Phillies are playing at 3:05 today. So because they're playing at 3:05, we have a Phillies lineup a little bit earlier in the day. So let's get that to you. If you're watching on YouTube, next I just popped it onto the screen. But the lineup is mostly normal lineup until you get to 5. It's Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm. Sosa is in left field. Marsh is in right, followed by Realmuto, Derek Hill in center. Bryson Stott is the 9 hole. So they're obviously trying to break up the lefties a little bit with Sean Manaea on the mound for the Mets. I mean, listen, I don't think it's a bad lineup. I just find it interesting that for a guy in Sosa who has had some struggles against Manaea, they still feel like he is the best option they can go with. And again, it goes to highlight the conversation we were having earlier in the show. Shout out to Jack K. McGordale. He's great. Just with some of his texts here today. But Jack K. McGordale, you and I talked about this before about how, you just want more from the team. And I think that this lineup just kind of highlights the concerns you have with the Phillies, which is when you have a guy in Sosa who has struggled against Manaea historically, but you still feel you had to put him in the lineup. You had to put him in the lineup, because you don't have a better option. It just kind of makes it more glaring, the Phillies' problems that they have to address. So, again, the Phillies play at 3:05 today, not 4:05. They moved it due to weather concerns. The press release didn't specifically mention that was just the thunderstorms or that's the smoke still coming from Canada. But Phillies 3:05 today. Jose Luzardo on the mound for the Phils. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Coming up on the other side, we will talk some Flyers hockey. Flyers, they didn't get Leo Carlson, but they re-signed 2 of the young players this week, Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale. We'll get a national NHL perspective on all of it with Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio, and he joins me coming up on the other side. Plus, I'll forget the Ivy Rehab injury report. We got Tom Adderley coming up at 1:25. All that and more. So to come, hang with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN.
Hey, South Jersey, this is Billy Schwein. Tune into The Locker Room every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. Each weekend in The Locker Room, you will get passionate sports talk from a fan's perspective, along with interviews with some of the biggest names in sports. That's every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon in The Locker Room with me, Billy Schwein, on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, because nothing could be finer than talking sports with a Schweiner.
Is your trading stopping you from shopping? It's time to drop in some Matt Blatt Nissan.
Don't freak out about your old car. Trade out. Matt Blatt Nissan and Matt Blatt Infinity can get you out. Get up to $4,000 over Kelly Blue Book Fair Trade value for your old car. Come see us today at Matt Blatt Nissan and Matt Blatt Infinity on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township.
It's time to drop in some Matt Blatt Nissan.
Let's trade for the purchase of select models. Expires 1
Town Square Media has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible offers from some fantastic local businesses. Get this great deal right now. Get one $50 gift card for just $25 to the Range on 9 for golf, batting cages, mini golf, ice cream, and more. Learn more at therangeon9.com. That's one $50 gift card for just $25. Get this great deal right now at seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com.
From the people who brought you It's the Dog Park comes.
It's a hot spot on your dog's leg. But the internet says you can treat it at home. You're not sure, though, because now it's oozing.
Protect your dog from injury and illness with Progressive Pet Insurance.
Ooh, he's licking it. Super gross, dude.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Covered subject to policy terms.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. One of the things I love most about a strong community is that people show up for one another. That's exactly what happens every day at the branch's outreach in Cape County. Their team, volunteers, donors, and community partners work together to provide meals, stock pantry shelves, distribute clothing and personal care items, and connect individuals and families with advocacy, case management, and the support they need to move forward. For some, it's a warm meal. For others, it's groceries for their family, help navigating a difficult situation, or simply knowing there's somewhere to turn. The need for those services continues to grow, and every day the branches depend on people who believe in giving back to keep this work going. Whether Cape May County is your home or your favorite place to visit, you can be part of that team. Visit thebranchesoutreach.org and make a donation today. Together, we can strengthen the community we all love.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Finally!
This is Hanging with Hennig.
I have friends everywhere.
On 97.3 ESPN Radio, South Jersey.
In New Jersey. Am I right?
Yeah. Live feed on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It seems to run on some form of electricity. Well, you're not wrong.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together.
Now, here's your host.
He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Josh Hennig.
Hour 2, hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle, back in the 97.3 ESPN studios for this weekend. We'll get back to tech sport in just a bit at 609-403-0973. We'll be talking Eagles and the Phillies in the first hour. We're going to transition to the ice, because not just because it's hot outside and all that, but because the Flyers, they took a shot. They didn't get Leo Carlson, but then this week they re-signed 2 of their top young players. So getting to more about the Flyers offseason and the NHL as a whole is the one and only Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio. Of course, you hear him on the morning skate each week on SiriusXM NHL Radio morning show. Scott, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. Yourself?
I'm doing good, and I want to know for you, because, I am so curious about how the rest of the league viewed the whole Leo Carlson situation, because, in our area, people got excited. They were like, hey, the Flyers are taking a chance. They're trying to get this young stud, right? And when they didn't get him, it was a little deflating. But for Flyer fans, they were like, well, you know what? At least Danny Briere is willing to go and get a guy if he's there. What was the national perspective on that whole situation?
Well, look, I think there's a segment out there, you can call them the old boys society, the old boys club, that says, hey, this is dirty pool. You're not supposed to be doing these types of things. I think if we're being progressive here and we say, look, in the NHL these days, with all the young superstar players being locked up to long, extensive, lucrative contracts earlier than ever before, you realize that when you get to free agency and you're trying to improve your hockey club going into next season, the pickings are a lot fewer and slimmer than what they once were, too. So how do you go about improving your team's fortunes for the upcoming season? Well, you can go out and try to orchestrate a good trade or two, and certainly Danny Briere's been active on that front for sure, specifically when it comes to the trade with the Toronto Maple Leafs and such. But I also think that the other way here, Josh, is to look into the toolbox and realize that offer sheets are available. They always have been available. I think we're going to start to see them more and more and more as the next couple of years go on, for the reason that I mentioned, that teams have been proactive and aggressive in securing their star players and locking them up before they get to unrestricted free agent status. And I think this is going to be something here that Danny Briere struck on, that not only he, but other teams are going to get into. So I like the fact as well, Josh, like you said, that they took a swing. They swung for the fences. They gave him the biggest offer in the history of the National Hockey League in terms of an average annual value type contract. And I think the Ducks did well to match it. They had to match it, but boy, that puts them into a bit of a predicament, obviously, when it comes to a guy like Cutter Gauthier and different players like that, too. So I like the fact that they went out there. They were aggressive. They were trying to improve their lot, and I think that that's going to continue. Danny Briere's shown no hesitancy in really being aggressive going out there to try to improve.
You mentioned about his not being hesitant. We know that there's still a lot of guys out there in the trade market who could maybe or maybe not be a viability. How many of those guys do you think are legitimately going to get traded? I feel like we've been hearing about Dylan Larkin and Zach Bravinsky for weeks. And, I mean, did the NHL just basically just go on vacation? Like, is that what happened? I feel like we were talking about that so much for weeks, and then all of a sudden, and they're still there.
Well, it's interesting. Look, I mean, Dylan Larkin clearly would be a player that the Flyers would be interested in, right? To either be a number one center, number two center, depending on your perspective. So I think Dylan Larkin is still out there. The thing, of course, that complicates matters in Detroit now, Josh, as you know, just a couple of days ago, the fact that Steve Yzerman got punted into a senior advisory role with the club, and now they're looking for a new director of hockey operations and general manager. So how does that affect Larkin? I mean, are they going to put the sell back on Larkin with the new GM coming in, promoting a different plan, and maybe Larkin has a change of heart as a Michigan kid and says, you know what, maybe I was a little bit too hasty. You know what? Maybe I can stick it out here with Detroit a little while longer. Or is he still going to stick to his request that, hey, this hasn't worked out for the past decade or so. I want to go explore greener pastures, and I want to try to get into the playoffs and compete at the most important time of the season once again. That could go either way right now, and I think right now that's kind of in limbo because you don't know who the next guy to be guiding that Detroit Red Wings ship is going to be ultimately. The other guy we've got the eyes on certainly is Connor Hellebuck, right? And Connor Hellebuck, I mean, has been on the block, we think, for the last little bit. Now, could they go to camp, the Winnipeg Jets, with Connor Hellebuck and Stuart Skinner as their 1-2 punch? That could be the case, but Hellebuck's agent is Skinner's agent. Skinner signed in Winnipeg, probably knowing that Hellebuck wouldn't be there over the long haul. So we'll wait and see if Hellebuck gets traded to a team like Buffalo, where reportedly he's got no qualms about going to. He would go to Buffalo in Western New York, willing to join up with that young emerging franchise. I think that this is a situation to monitor as well. Those are the two names that I'm looking at right now. When it comes to unrestricted free agency, Josh, I mean, Patrick Kane's still out there. Is it a return to Chicago? Is it going back to his hometown of Buffalo, New York? That's to be ironed out. And to a lesser extent, a guy like Vladimir Tarasenko is certainly dangling out there as an unrestricted free agent who had a solid season last season, but clearly is not the player he once was.
Talking with Scott Laughlin of SiriusXM NHL Radio. Catch up on the NHL Morning Skate each week here on SiriusXM NHL Radio. He's joining us here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. A name you didn't mention there I want to ask you about, because I know when the Stars deal didn't work out for Bravinsky, that there was a lot of speculation that Robertson was included in that deal. Do you think he actually is a trade possibility, or do you think that was just because of who he was being traded for?
Well, I think Robertson is going to be in Dallas for next season. Beyond that, we're not quite certain. I mean, it's baffling to a certain extent that he hasn't re-upped with Dallas. I mean, they've been saying all along, the Robertson camp, that he wants to remain a member of the Dallas Stars. The Stars have said that they want to have him. The Stars working internally off of a salary cap where they say, we don't want to pay you too much more than we're paying Mikko Rantanen, who's making just over $12 million per. So they're trying to stick to that. Robertson obviously looking for a bit more. The fact that he turned down 8 years at $15 million per to go out to play for the Seattle Kraken is kind of interesting, and not necessarily, if you're a Kraken fan, things that you want to hear, because that's a pretty substantive deal, of course, that he turned down to begin with. So I think that Jason Robertson's going to be in Dallas for at least one more season. Beyond 26, 27, Josh, I think all bets are off. If they haven't come to a deal at this point, well, what's to say that things are going to change here in the next couple of months? He's going to get a contract, and he'll go forward with Dallas, I think, for one more season. But beyond that, I'm sure they'll be working towards something, but there are a lot of irons in the fire when it comes to Jason Robertson as a star for the Dallas Stars continuing on down there.
So let's say if there's a scenario where the Flyers come out of this offseason and they don't add one of these big names. They don't get, the Larkins or the Robertson or any of these type of guys, and they go in the next season mostly as is. So what is the Flyers going in next season as is?
Well, look, I think they could still finish third in the Metropolitan Division. And I say third just because if we're just seeding the Metropolitan Division to the defending Stanley Cup champion Carolina Hurricanes, which I think most people realistically would do, then you're thinking, well, who gets second? I think that Washington has done a lot, and they've done more than enough in the offseason to make themselves on paper be the team to beat for number 2 in the Metropolitan Division. They're big, they're strong, they're physical, they're skilled. They've got some wild card players, certainly in Jordan Kyrou and Pierre-Luc Dubois, guys that will tease you with their skill sets and yet maybe not develop and show you that consistent production. I think those are questions for Washington, but on paper, I like what they've done there to be so aggressive, and they weren't quite sure, they would say, from a certain point in time as to whether or not Ovechkin was coming back anyway. They wanted to backfill. Now that he's back for a season, maybe 2, they can go forward. And I really like Washington with what they've done on paper to finish second in the Metro. I think that third spot in the Metropolitan Division is completely up for grabs right now. I mean, it could be Philadelphia's once again. Maybe Columbus gets in and they get back to the way that they played with Rick Bowness to start when the coach took over down the stretch. I think Pittsburgh, obviously, always a bit of a wild card, and whenever you got Crosby and Malkin to lead the way, you're seemingly always in there with a chance. Islanders, of course, Matthew Schaefer, we think is going to take another step, and that could be scary for that division. Rangers, you don't know what you're going to get. Obviously, New Jersey's made some improvements as well, and Mantha joins them earlier this week. So I think what I know is that Carolina finishes first. I think Washington finishes in second, and I think Philadelphia's got as good a chance as anyone to finish in third in the Metropolitan Division once again, Josh. And I think a lot of it hinges internally on the improvement of certain players. Number 1, Matvei Michkov. We've talked about it so often, Josh. I mean, the kid is hopefully right now, in the lab over in Russia, and hopefully he's improving his body and going to come to camp in September in the best shape of his young life. If he can go from 20 goals to 30 goals and produce 20 more points than he did last season, that'll be a major step in the right direction for Philadelphia. I think Porter Martone, over the course of a full 84-game schedule, could prove to be a real difference maker for the Flyers. And look, I mean, they've improved in goal too, and the 1-2 punch of Dan Vladar and Joseph Woll, I think, is probably as good as most teams in the National Hockey League right now, too. You get Zegras and Drysdale deals done, of course, in the last couple of days as well. So I think the improvement clearly has to come internally from that group in Philadelphia. But, I mean, these kids, the younger players, certainly have the potential, the capability to really take it up a notch.
You just mentioned about how Zegras and Drysdale getting those deals. I can't overlook the fact of how interesting it is of how these are 2 young players who, for lack of a better term, were almost discarded by the Ducks, right? There were 2 guys who the Ducks pretty much, sold low, quote unquote, on them. And now the Flyers are benefiting from their development. What is, do you think, the realistic potential for those 2 guys?
Well, look, I think, Josh, that Zegras could be a point-per-game player. He's got that type of skill set, I think. I mean, he's an uber-talented kid. I think he's shown a lot of compete, going back to last season in particular for the Flyers. Look, we all saw the headbutting on occasion that would happen between him and Rick Tocchet, but that's the growth of a younger player, and Rick knows that. Rick also, of course, trying to mold a young guy like Michkov into that type of player that is going to have a long and successful all-around NHL career as well, and that's been more of a work in progress, as Flyers fans well know. But I think that Zegras is so skilled, and if he's got that compete, which I think he showed a lot last season of, I think he's got the capability to be a point-per-game player before it's all said and done. As far as Drysdale's concerned, look, I mean, you're looking at a top 4 guy for the rest of his career, I think, and those guys don't grow on trees. And obviously, I think he's capable a little bit more offensively in terms of point production as well. And, we know about Cam York and Drysdale, and we know about Andre and how he fit in, and now he's in Toronto, and they wanted to get a little bit more bigger, stronger, and physical on the back end, and that's why Benoit was thrown into that trade with the Toronto Maple Leafs too. So I like the way that they put their blue line together in Philadelphia. I think things will take a massive leap forward here. Certainly Travis Sanheim the last couple of years has put himself more on the global stage with Team Canada and such as well. So I think for Zegras and for Drysdale, I mean, clearly they're going to be paid for a number of years now as cornerstone players for this franchise. And I think that we've seen them be good so far. I think they've got a potential to become a lot better as the years go on.
I think the big concern for Flyer fans, because you mentioned about how, Zegras' potential is to be a point-per-game guy. I think one of the concerns Flyer fans will have is, the Flyers have not had like an elite goal scorer in decades. And the closest thing they had to that was, for example, Giroux was a really good player, but he was never like, I know, what's his name called him the best player on the planet, but he really wasn't.
Laviolette, that's right.
Laviolette, yeah, thank you. I remember him saying that. We all looked at each other like, who is he's talking about Giroux? What? But, to me, it's like it's been a long time since you had what you're talking about in Zegras. And I think the concern Flyer fans might have is they don't want to get their hopes up for whether it's Zegras or Mishkov. I mean, Flyer fans, the Porter Martone jerseys are flying off the shelves here in South Jersey, Scott. So, I mean, people want to be excited about this team, but there's still that tiny bit of trepidation.
No, I fully understand that. I mean, until a kid does it, until he materializes into that player and evolves into that player, I think there's always going to be a little bit of hesitancy to buy into a kid becoming a superstar. He's got that type of talent. Hasn't gotten there yet, as we know, but they're banking on the next 4 years of being more in the way of growth and maybe getting into that type of player too. And look, I still come back to it. I mean, I know it's easy to say, and it's harder for Matvei Michkov to turn out to be the superstar player that everybody thought he'd be coming over from Russia. And look, Ivan Demidov in Montreal, there are great things expected of this kid. They just signed him to a lucrative long-term extension in Montreal. That's what they feel about this emerging superstar player. Demidov was in the same conversation with a guy like Michkov going back a couple of years ago. Michkov was thought to be just in front of Demidov. And when Demidov was selected, 5th overall, going back to the drafted Sphere in Vegas a couple of years ago, everybody said this guy's, been compared to Matvei Michkov. They were comparing the young Habs superstar emerging to Michkov. Michkov was the guy that was supposed to be in front of him too. Now, as we've seen so far, the first couple of years of his NHL run, 26 goals and 20 goals, nothing to sneeze at. But when you come in with all the accolades, if you put the work in, as we say that we hope that he's putting in here in the summertime, there's still got to be a level for him to get to. Now, does it happen with Philadelphia? Does it happen playing for Rick Tocchet? I guess that's for him ultimately to decide. But this is a key season, as we know, for the Flyers when it comes to Michkov and how they perceive that player. Do they buy in like Montreal's done with Demidov? Or do they still have some hesitancy after next season to say, I'm not sure this guy's all cracked up to be what we thought he'd be in coming over from across the pond. So this is a huge, huge season for Matvei Michkov with the Philadelphia Flyers. And I would say for me and from my perspective, Josh, that going into 26-27, he's the biggest wild card here for Philadelphia to determine whether or not he can be great and to determine whether or not the Flyers can take that next step forward in the Metropolitan Division. If he turns out to be all that he was advertised to be a couple of years ago and really the light bulb clicks and goes on and he turns out to be that superstar type player in waiting, then I think Philadelphia certainly is going to be in some good stead there in the division.
Great stuff here from Scott Laughlin, SiriusXM NHL Radio, co-host of the NHL Morning Skate. Scott, appreciate you jumping on today. Great insights on the NHL and the Flyers offseason.
Anytime. Always a pleasure to be with you, Josh. Thanks for joining.
Great stuff. Scott Laughlin, SiriusXM NHL Radio, joining us here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Hanging with Hennig being brought to you by my friends over at Boulevard Super Liquors, your one-stop shopping for all of your needs. Listen, it's going to be a bit of a rainy day today, but it'll be nice tomorrow. So you want to stock up for the weekend, go down off of Garden State Parkway, X25, Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. The best selection of beer, wine, whiskey, vodka, and tequila in all of South Jersey. And we will be back there with Bird Gang Spirits. Hollis Thomas, former Eagles player. You come on down, see Hollis Thomas, say hello to him, hang with Hennig, and for your chance to also win a signed Eagles jersey. That'll be next Saturday, Boulevard Super Liquors on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. Come on, hang out with myself and Mike Carlin. We will be hanging with you next Saturday. But until then, Boulevard Super Liquors is my one-stop shopping for every occasion, and should be yours too. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook for upcoming tastings and events. A couple things to wrap up there with Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio. I thought it was great what he was saying about how, he understands how Flyer fans might feel a little bit of trepidation, right? There's a little feeling of you want these guys to be great. You want, you know what these guys can be, okay? I specifically go back to Zegras because I feel like Michkov, we've all heard the song and dance already, okay? But to me, I feel like Zegras is the guy that Zegras and Martone. It's not just Zegras, but Zegras and Martone are the two guys that I am kind of hooking my boat to when it comes to the Flyers moving forward, because these are two players who were high prospects, highly regarded, high-level talents, and they're both still very young. Zegras is only 25 years old. Martone, he's in his early 20s. And that's why I like what Scott said, that Mishkov is a wild card, because he is. We don't know what Mishkov is going to be. That's up to him. But I know what Zegras and Martone can be. I know what Drysdale can be. And so if those guys do keep progressing and step up next year, it makes it less necessary for Mishkov to be all that we thought he could be. Because, again, you're talking about a bunch of young guys who were all highly drafted. Zegras was a top 10 pick. Mishkov was a top 10 pick. Martone is a guy that a lot of people actually thought he would be drafted higher than he was. And I don't remember exactly where Drysdale was drafted, but I know he was a top 10 pick as well. So you have this group of players who are all former top 10 picks, all former major prospects coming into the NHL. So now it's a question of, do these guys, as they grow older, Zegras at 25, Drysdale at 24, Mishkov and Martone in their early 20s, can they be the players you need them to be long-term while also growing into who they can be short-term? Because, again, when you have these guys who are capable, it's part of the reason why Rick Tocchet is here. Rick Tocchet was hired for this job because of the fact that he is the type of head coach who can get more out of players than sometimes other teams can. He showed it with Phoenix. He showed it in Vancouver. And I think he can do it here in Philadelphia as well. All right, we'll get back to text board a little bit later this hour. 609-403-0973. We're streaming live on YouTube and X at Josh Hennig. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. I see Angie Tuckerton. She chimed in on the YouTube channel. You could do the same as well. But coming up on the other side, we have the Ivy Rehab injury report. What is going on with Brad Keller's latest injury? We'll get to that and more. Coming up next with Dr. Tom Adderley from Ivy Rehab Physical Therapy, with over 18 locations around South Jersey, offering best-in-class outpatient physical therapy. That's next on Hang with Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN.
The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street is Stone Harbor's most complete entertainment experience. Great food, fun, and libations, and newly remodeled for 2026. The same great owners and all your favorite menu items remain, and now we've taken things up a notch with a brand new bar, new sound system, 36 brand new 4K TVs, and more. No matter where you sit, you always have a perfect sight line to the big game, and you've got to try our mouth-watering new menu items. Start your meal with blackened scallops, homemade fried pickles, or a cheeseburger flatbread. Try our new Chicago-style dog, or the Mary Ann sandwich, a chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, and sharp provolone on world-famous Rando's Bakery Atlantic City bread. The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill sources only the top ingredients and serves up the best quality food. Voted best wings of Stone Harbor and the Jersey Shore by Lord of the Wings. Prime rib nights Friday and Saturdays, rib nights on Sundays, and Mike the Magician Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The newly remodeled Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street in the heart of Stone Harbor. Open 11:30 a.m. till midnight, 7 days a week. Go to stoneharborbarandgrill.com or call 609-961-3534 for more.
Making your home look brand new is what Work of Art Construction can do for you. Ready to remodel your bathroom or have a kitchen makeover? Art Masker has 40 years of experience in construction and knows how to make your home look like a work of art. Want to install a new back deck or invest in a new front door? Just call Art Masker at 609-788-4271 to learn more. Visit Work of Art Construction on Instagram to see how Work of Art Construction can make your home look brand new. Beautify your home with Work of Art. Call him at 609-788-4271 and let them make your home truly a work of art.
We all have places to go and things to do, but when you're getting around in Atlantic and Cape May counties this summer, it pays to be street smart. When crossing the street, use crosswalks, pay attention to walk signs, and when driving, the law says it's not enough to yield, we have to stop for pedestrians. Whether you're driving, walking, or biking, have a heads up and put the phone down. Let's all be safe, smart, and aware of our surroundings and others. Street Smart is New Jersey's pedestrian safety education campaign. Learn more at bestreetsmartnj.org.
With other language learning apps, I was just playing games. I wasn't really learning. Babbel's different.
Babbel was designed by over 200 language learning experts to be the most effective way to learn another language.
Every time I open the app, I can choose to work on my writing, speaking, or listening. And it saves my mistakes for me to review, so I'm constantly improving. Before Babbel, I thought I just wasn't good with languages. But now I'm speaking French. Tout ça, c'est grâce à Babbel.
Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
When it comes to injuries, you can't afford to get it wrong. Insurance companies, they delay, deny, and pay as little as possible. Who's on your side? The law offices of Greg A. Altman. Car accidents, slip and falls, serious workplace injuries. They build cases to put real pressure on the other side. Hey, you pay nothing unless they win. Don't guess, don't wing it. Call 856-327-8899 or visit GregAltmanLaw.com. Local office in Vineland, backed by a Philly firm that knows how to win.
You're hanging with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by. Star-Lord.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Who? Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. It is time for the Ivy Rehab Injury Report, with her 18 locations around South Jersey offering best-in-class outpatient physical therapy. And I can say that because they were my physical therapist. That's why I recommend them here on 97.3 ESPN. And right now, to get more into the latest injuries, we have Dr. Tom Adderley joining us to talk about, well, injuries that I frankly need a little more information about. So I'm glad Dr. Tom is here with us today. Dr. Tom, how you doing today?
Great, Josh. Thanks for having me back.
I appreciate you jumping on. And, for Phillies fans, there's a lot of frustration with this team. So a lot of people want to know what on earth is going on with Brad Keller, a guy the Phillies gave a big contract to this offseason. He has been diagnosed with a right elbow UCL tear. Now, what's important to note about this is a month ago, June 14th, Keller was placed on the injured list after being diagnosed with right forearm tendonitis. So, Dr. Tom, how does someone go from a diagnosis of forearm tendonitis to then a month later, then having a UCL tear?
Yeah, unfortunately, all too common, Josh. So, I think the best way to understand it is recognizing that in our elbow, we have both what we call active structures and passive structures. So the forearm tendonitis was definitely the active structures, right? It's the muscles, it's the tendons. They do connect bone to bone, but they have the ability to contract. While the UCL, unfortunately, is more of a passive structure. It connects directly from bone to bone. There's no muscles involved. Vigorous activity through the arm. In this case, we're talking pitching. It requires a fairly significant amount of force to transfer all the way through the arm, through the elbow. And that involves both active and passive structures. So unfortunately, we see in all sorts of sports injuries that issues in the active structures, the forearm tendonitis, muscle strains, put increased demand on the passive structures and ultimately can put you at increased risk for injury of those passive structures as well.
So then for someone who's not a pro athlete, right, someone who does, maybe they are diagnosed with, forearm tendonitis, they have an issue with their arm or their elbow. We always hear like a tennis elbow term, right? So what can a patient who comes to Ivy Rehab, what can they learn from the Brad Keller situation and maybe avoid doing what he did?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and once again, as a physical therapist, perhaps my bias, but I think it's really important not to ignore those more manageable, soreness, aches, sort of tennis elbow, golfer's elbow symptoms, as they potentially are an indication that you're currently not tolerating the load you're putting through your arm, and that potentially it could lead to a much more devastating injury of some of these passive structures, or quite frankly, you can even have more significant injury to some of these active structures as well. The way we try to encourage our patients to think about load tolerance, and some people would say I'm a little rambunctious when it comes to the metaphors, so I apologize here, Josh, but we're going to use a traffic light, right? So a red light is this person coming in and saying, I am significantly sore, and it is remaining sore from one training session or from one game until the next training session or the next game. That is your body's way of telling you you are not really well tolerating the current load you're putting on it. A yellow light, on the other hand, a little bit more like, hey, we don't have to stop everything cold, but, a little caution is you are developing those symptoms, but they are resolving before you get back to your next training session or your next game. Or at least you're telling us that during the course of a warm-up prior to that next game, that next training session, you're able to resolve those soreness. So that's sort of a proceed cautiously, where a green light would be essentially like, I have no symptoms, no soreness, I am tolerating everything well. And that's a great opportunity for a lot of people if they're like, hey, how can I build up my tolerance in that green light scenario? But once again, a relatively slow, gradual return. We really don't recommend more than 10 or 20% of load increase per week. And like I said, how we describe that, it depends on the person, right? If it's a runner, it could be mileage. If it's a weightlifter, it could be poundage. We quantify load differently depending on what people are looking to get back to. But that would be sort of my big takeaway.
I think it's important you brought up the different lights there because of the fact that, Brad Keller is an interesting example of this could be anybody. He thought he was fine. He just said I had discomfort, and then he gets an MRI. It's a torn UCL. So, I think it's an important analogy because of the fact, Dr. Tom, that, the regular person, they think they're fine. Oh, they just do the whole arm roll or, they do whatever. They try to crack their neck. But it might be something that definitely needs to be taken care of because, just powering through might not be the answer.
Yeah, 100%. And from the rehab side of things, it's also a matter of if we catch this early, you're probably not needing to spend that much time with us, and we can probably get you back to the things you love much quicker. Where if we let it get to UCL injury or torn muscles, now all of a sudden, not only it's going to take longer to get back to the things you love, but you're going to have to spend quite a bit more time and effort in therapy.
We're talking with Dr. Tom Adderley from Ivy Rehab Physical Therapy Centers, over 80 locations around South Jersey. Also coming soon to Ventnor Heights, offering best-in-class outpatient physical therapy. The other injury we want to hit on today, Dr. Tom, is probably one of the biggest name stars in the sport today, which is Caitlin Clark. Now, last night, she came back from her back injury and scored 45 points. So obviously, she's just special, right? But what I think is interesting is that she's been dealing with this ongoing back issue all year. They called it back soreness back in May. She missed a little time. She came back, hit the ground hard, and then it was called a back tweak. So while Clark is back on the court now, the team is putting her on a minute restriction. So talk to the audience because everyone's at back soreness, right? So how does someone go from just general back soreness to then, hey, I have to go get therapy because this is getting way too painful?
Yeah, super common, unfortunately also somewhat more complicated answer, right? So before we talk specifically about back soreness, I just want to spend a little bit talking about what we call the 3 Ps. So predisposing, precipitating, or perpetuating. And once again, just to throw another metaphor your way, we're going to talk about charcoal grills, right? It's the summer. So predisposing are like, hey, what kind of vulnerabilities are you bringing to an injury, right? That in the metaphor, that's the lighter fluid. That's the lighter fluid you're pouring on the charcoal. The precipitating is the injury, right? What happened, what structures were involved, that's striking the match, throwing it on the lighter fluid. Perpetuating is the more interesting part, right? It's like what's continuing to fire the grill or continue the injury from going on. We call those more perpetuating, and that's the charcoal in my metaphor, right? So for Caitlin, it's really interesting. Lighter fluid for her is the fact that this is someone who's had multiple injuries. We can go back to last year where we had quad, groin injuries. So is there some sort of a global load tolerance issue that maybe someone is dealing with that they're now bringing and it's landing in her back rather than her leg? The match, what structures were involved, you always have to look at different parts of the back, right? And this is not an exhaustive list, but we're talking about ligaments, joints, muscles, tendons, the discs, which are the shock absorbers between the backbones, the nerves. All of those structures can cause pain, and that makes it very complicated. So all the more reason to please get a comprehensive evaluation so that someone can give you an idea of what structures might be causing that pain. Now, the charcoal is really interesting too, right? Talking about how back soreness can evolve into another issue or a worsening issue. This is where that charcoal or those perpetuating factors really kick in, right? when you first injure your back, in this case, there's some form of an antalgic posture. And antalgic is just a fancy way of saying your body is trying to minimize the amount of pain you're experiencing. So if it was in your leg, it would be a limp. If it would be an arm, it might be holding your arm in a position that's most comfortable or least uncomfortable. When it's the spine, usually it's some reduction of twisting. We twist slightly when we walk, but when somebody has a bad back, they don't do that, and it looks weird. There's all these sorts of antalgic things that happen. And ironically, these over enough time can cause other structures to not work really well. So you might have started with a ligament injury, but you might end up with a muscle or a tendon issue because you're not moving ideally well. So in other words, the source of that original injury that you started with may not ultimately be the source of the symptoms that you're continuing to experience. And once again, not to promote physical therapy too much as a physical therapist, but that's why a comprehensive evaluation early matters so much. Are we dealing with one thing, or are we now dealing with three things that could have been managed if we had just gotten to that root cause?
So to follow up what you just said about, the perpetuating and all that stuff, for you, when you look at someone to see someone comes into IV rehab and they say to you, hey, my back was sore, but then I fell and now I tweaked it. Like what is kind of like the procedure that someone can expect to go through when it comes to evaluating before they start physical therapy? I think that's an important part of which is it's not just going in there, getting your rehab and leaving at IV rehab. You guys go through this almost like a checkpoint process.
Absolutely. I mean, it would be concerning if you just showed up with back pain and I just handed you 10 exercises like, oh, let's try these out. We really do try to tailor what each patient needs, right? So obviously we're first looking at your pain, where you're experiencing your pain, how that pain affects you. And ultimately the goal is to have minimal or no pain with a reasonable tolerance to load by the time you're done with us. We look at range of motion, AKA flexibility. We want to ideally get you back to the level of flexibility or range of motion you had pre-injury. But guess what? Sometimes if you don't have a lot of flexibility, that might be one of those predisposing factors that puts you at the risk for hurting your back in the first place. So we try to make sure we even leave you better than you came pre-injury. Same thing with weakness, strength. I want to make sure that you're at your level, if not higher than your level of strength, and that you feel good. So we're taking all sorts of measurements the first day. We're setting goals that are measurable so we can make sure that those things are improving. And guess what? If your pain level's going down, your inflexibility is going up, and you're getting stronger, I think it's a kind of an easy case to make. I think we're improving. Now, before you're done, super important that we talk about capability, right? Can you do the things that you want to go back to do? So now you have no pain, you have good range of motion, and you're pretty strong, but can you go back to basketball? I don't know. Like, that's an important part of that end stage rehabilitation. And then the final sort of ultimate piece is capacity. Yes, you can play basketball, but can you play basketball at the volume and the vigor that you were previously playing, or that you are now expected to play? So maybe, making some assumptions about what they're doing with Caitlin is the minutes restriction is probably more of that capacity piece, making sure that she's not overextending how much she does as they get her kind of rehabbed from this.
And finally, Dr. Tom, before I let you go, you mentioned something about, where in the back is the issue. And I kind of wanted to follow up on that because for Caitlin, it's a lower back problem, but there might be someone who comes in, for example, they have a middle or upper back issue, but they have a history of lower back, right? So it's like if someone says, hey, I have historically lower back problems, but now all of a sudden it's a different part of my back. Like, how is the management process for that different?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head too, as far as, once again, back to that perpetuating factor, right? Have those lower back issues not maybe been 100% resolved, and now it's causing different movement strategies above that lower back that's now manifesting it. Now my middle back hurts. Now I'm having neck pain. So once again, we try to really do a very detailed, regionally specific exam, but then there is sort of a 10,000 foot view as well. For instance, if you have low back issues, we need your hips to move well. If you have stiff hips, your back now has to move further to compensate for those stiff hips. If you have a tight lower back, your upper back needs to move more to compensate for a stiff lower back. So sometimes, it's not even that where you're experiencing the pain is the culprit, so to speak. Sometimes it's the victim of structures above or below that maybe aren't moving optimally.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way when I came in for rehab for my neck and my shoulder. So I learned that the hard way. But listen, it's why you go to IV Rehab Physical Therapy, because they help you work through all of those types of scenarios and situations. Dr. Tom Adderley is one of the great doctors at IV Rehab Physical Therapy Centers. Dr. Tom, great stuff today. Appreciate your breakdown of everything.
Always a pleasure, Josh.
Josh Hennig here, hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle, streaming live on YouTube and X. Don't forget, Hanging with Hennig being brought to you by, I just had it in front of me. There it is, Cross County Connection. This is the problem when you're doing all the reads by yourself. Billy Schweim understands this. You have all these papers in front of you, then you pick up the wrong paper and you realize you're supposed to be reading the tell people about Cross County Connection, but then you pick up the thing for Boulevard Super Liquors. You know what happens. But Cross County Connection presents 6 new SJ Connect shuttles providing fare for transportation across southern New Jersey, connect to jobs, colleges, healthcare, shopping, government services, and NJ Transit hubs, all at no cost to riders. For details, call 856-229-7571. And don't forget, as we mentioned at the top of the show here on Hang with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN, we were supposed to be in Seattle today, but due to a lot of mitigating issues, including the weather and other issues, we were not able to be there. So please, if you have time this weekend, if you're in the Seattle City area, go visit my friends over at the Promenade Deck Shops between 42nd and 43rd Streets. Go get a pizza, the best pizza Seattle City, from Zia Nicola Pizza. Go get some ice cream from Big Dipper Ice Cream. Auntie Anne's Pretzels is always a fun time for the family. And of course, the Juice Pod, if you're looking for some healthy drinks for the weekend. Keep yourself hydrated, keep yourself powered through the weekend. So the Juice Pod is also part of the Deck Shops right there in Seattle City, in between 42nd and 43rd Street. Speaking of Billy Schweim, it's actually right across the street from the Point in Seattle City. So be sure to check them out. We will be back there, tentatively scheduled for August 1st is the rescheduled date for Hang with Hennig return to Seattle City this summer here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll check back in on the text board on the other side, 609-403-0973. Plus, I touched on it a little bit earlier. The latest LeBron rumor, nugget, speculation. We'll get into that and all more coming up next here on 97.3 ESPN.
This weekend on ESPN Radio, 2 iconic franchises kick off the second half in the Bronx. Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers are in New York to face Ben Rice and the Yankees.
And he drives the pitch, deep right field, way back, gone, home run! Ben Rice!
The Dodgers and Yankees. Coverage begins tonight at 7:30 Eastern and tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball all season on 97.3 ESPN.
Whether you are stocking up for a summer party, a day at the beach, or that golden hour dinner at your favorite BYOB restaurant, your one-stop shopping destination, where I go for every occasion, is Boulevard Super Liquors. Located on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge, Boulevard Super Liquors has the best selection of craft beer, whiskey, vodka, wines, and tequila in all of South Jersey. Plus, they are minutes from Garden State Parkway, exit 25, so you can easily stop into Boulevard Super Liquors on your travels all around South Jersey. Family owned and operated for 4 generations, Boulevard Super Liquors is my go-to for the best selection at the Jersey Shore. And don't miss your chance to meet former Eagles player Hollis Thomas, thanks to Bird Gang Spirits, plus special prize giveaways when Hanging with Hennig broadcasts live on Saturday, July 25th at Boulevard Super Liquors. On Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge, the best selection of beer and spirits in South Jersey.
Town Square Media has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible offers from some fantastic local businesses. Get this great deal right now. Get one $50 gift card for just $25 to the Range on 9 for golf, batting cages, mini golf, ice cream, and more. Learn more at therangeon9.com. That's one $50 gift card for just $25. Get this great deal right now at seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com.
I've always wanted to learn French, but the app I tried didn't help.
If you want to memorize words in another language, there's an app for that. But if you want to really learn another language, there's Babbel. Babbel was designed by over 200 language learning experts to be the most effective way to learn another language.
With other language learning apps, I was just playing games. I wasn't really learning. Babbel's different. Every time I open the app, I can choose to work on my writing, speaking, or listening. And it saves my mistakes for me to review, so I'm constantly improving. Babbel feels like it was created intentionally by people who really know what you need to learn another language. Before Babbel, I thought I just wasn't good with languages. But now I'm speaking French. Tout ça, c'est grâce à Babbel.
Want to really learn another language? Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com to save up to 50%. Babbel.com.
Hanging out at the Piccadilly, nowhere tomorrow, everyone's happy, beers keep coming, tails piled high with friends and family, spirits to the sky.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Come experience our coolest summer yet at Ocean Casino Resort. This summer, Ocean will be having our first ever Water Ice Festival on July 18th from 2 to 5 p.m. to indulge in South Philadelphia's famous treat. It's an event that's fun for the entire family. Try countless flavors and vote for your favorite. So get your tickets today. Visit theoceanac.com to learn more. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Summer's here and the heat is on. Attila's Gyms has got you covered with top-tier equipment and their legendary old-school vibe. Whether you're hitting the beach or hitting a personal record, they've got everything you need to stay strong while on vacation. And best of all, no contracts, just fitness on your terms. With 5 convenient locations, Wildwood, Sea Isle, Ocean City, Egg Harbor, and Galloway, your next workout is minutes away. Join Attila's Gyms today.
When it comes to injuries, you can't afford to get it wrong. Insurance companies, they delay, deny, and pay as little as possible. Who's on your side? The law offices of Greg A. Altman. Car accidents, slip and falls, serious workplace injuries. They build cases to put real pressure on the other side. And you pay nothing unless they win. Don't guess. Don't wing it. Call 856-327-8899 or visit GregAltmanLaw.com. Local office in Vineland, backed by a Philly firm that knows how to win.
Now back to Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
I stood right there not too long ago, and I told the entire world, I said, call me what you want. Yeah.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
And there's nothing you can do about it, and that's not an insult. That is just a fact of life. Yeah.
Streaming live on YouTube and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, we will be back on the road next week. You can hang with Hennig at Boulevard Super Liquors. Myself and Mike Carl will be hanging out with you, and former Eagle Hollis Thomas will be in the house at Boulevard Super Liquors thanks to Bird Gang Spirits. And if you can have a chance to win as well, a Jalen Hurts signed jersey along with other great prizes we will give away next Saturday. But you must stop by, say hello to Hollis Thomas, sign up for the contest, and you can win that Jalen Hurts jersey and other great prizes next Saturday at Boulevard Super Liquors on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. Of course, you can stock up this weekend at Boulevard Super Liquors. It's a cloudy, dreary day. The sun's tried to crack through a couple times, but you can tell the weather in the area is definitely preventing a lot of. So guess what? Stock up for the weekend. Stop by Boulevard Super Liquors for the best selection of beer, wine, and spirits at the Jersey Shore. They're my go-to spot, so I recommend them here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get back to text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Of course, Jeff Kerr from Phillies Fastball and Phillies Weekly shows. Of course, you have Phillies Weekly each weekend is the podcast. Phillies Fastball every day on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill during the week on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies coming up at 3:05. Jeff is coming up at 2:25. So we'll get a Phillies pregame perspective from Jeff coming up. But I did want to get back to this. So, and the reason why I call it a nugget, partly, tongue in cheek, because Nick Earnshaw was the one who forwarded it to me a little bit earlier. Of course, he is the host of Nick's Nuggets, as heard on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Well, John Clark is reporting from NBC Sports Philadelphia, John Clark, that Sixers owner Josh Harris had what is being described as a brief and friendly conversation with LeBron James at a VIP event. Now, again, we don't know what was said or not said, okay? But I have trouble believing that there's anything that Josh Harris said that is going to influence LeBron James' decision. And the reason why I'm going to make that statement is because just based on what we have heard from other people on Rich Paul's podcast, Rich Paul and Bob Myers both said that LeBron James already knows who everybody is. He is as educated, if not more educated, than anyone about the league, about the players, about everything involved, right? And for me, I just don't see a scenario where Josh Harris talking to LeBron is going to suddenly make him be like, you know what? I was thinking about the Cavs, but now because Josh Harris talked to me, I'm picking the Sixers. I'm under the belief that LeBron James already made his decision and that he purposely went to Fanatic Fest in New York to just do a publicity tour to ensure that he remains in the spotlight. And I go back to the comment that, so for those who don't know, one of LeBron's first media ventures was a roundtable podcast show called The Shop. And he doesn't host all of these shows that he launched anymore, but he makes guest appearances on them. And so his guest appearance was live at Fanatic Fest. And infamously or famously, depending on who you ask, he made the comment talking about trusting the process. And so this is the audio that's getting a lot of attention. And you guys may hear it differently than I do. You can text in at 609-403-0973. But I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you guys, LeBron is messing with everyone. He is poking the bear. He is teasing you. He's playing with your emotions, because listen how he deliberately says this time and time again.
Most important is I want to compete. I want to compete at a high level. I want to, join a franchise that kind of, models myself, and that's practicing championship habits every day, but trusting the process more than anything. I think you trust the process of actually getting to that point. Realize that's a term. That's a term. And by the way, I'm just saying trust the process. You know, was drafted in like 2003. I don't even know if he was even born yet.
So LeBron obviously is messing with people. And you heard him say it one time, and he says it, and they didn't get the initial reaction. So he says it again, then he gets the crowd reaction. He's playing with the crowd. He's like a comedian who tries to like set up a joke, but the comedian realizes that the initial setup, the audience didn't grab it yet. So then they kind of circle back to the setup, and then the crowd gets involved. LeBron is performing. This is a performance-based deal for him. He's not going out there and saying this stuff by accident. He knows if he says certain things, people are going to react a certain way. I don't think him saying trust the process, or him talking to Josh Harris, or him talking with Tyrese Maxey, or any of the, I don't think any of those are going to be the deciding factors for LeBron. LeBron explained on his joint venture broadcast between CNBC and his platform, The Boardroom, he explained to CNBC what is weighing heavily into his decision. This was the other day at Fanatic Fest.
The family portion is a big thing too. You know, my daughter and my wife and things of that nature, and I'm a big family guy. So there's a lot of things that's, you know, people are like, afraid to make a goddamn decision for him. It's like, okay, it's not just about the team. So many other factors that I'm, you know, factoring in right now on what, you know, not only best fit me as a player, what best fit me as a person, what best fit me as what my happiness, and also with my family as well. You know, so there's a lot of, I won't hold you guys up too much longer, but the family portion of it is huge for me.
Again, it goes back to what we've talked about previously here on 97.3 ESPN. Someone at LeBron's level is not considering the same things you and I are. We could argue for days the best opportunity for LeBron James to win is in Philadelphia versus Cleveland, versus Miami, versus Golden State. But the reality is that LeBron James keeps talking about family and happiness. I'm leaning on to those factors more than him saying trust the process until he gets a reaction out of the crowd. All right. Hour 3 of Hanging with Hennig coming up on the other side. 609-403-0970. By the way, Dave McNamara of ESPN is reporting that he says, quote, LeBron, if he's not 100% sure where he's going yet, he's got to be close to 99% at this point. Hey, man, I'm telling you, LeBron, he's hogging the spotlight, loves the attention.
Sunday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein, producer Alex Berardis, and Vince Foch join me in the studio. We'll talk Phillies baseball and go on the mound with former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green, brought to you by Blitz's Market of Ocean City. Tommy previews Sunday's Phillies-Mets Game 3. Hour 2, Mr. Negadelphia PJ Quarter checks in with his thoughts on the Philly sports scene. Brought to you by the Vassar Pool Service. Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, talk and more. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein. Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Listen up. The soap you shower with, you probably haven't even questioned what bar of soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. But now you can upgrade your shower game with Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. I'm talking about natural, nourishing, cold-pressed, hand-cut soap for men. Men who use their hands. Men who build things. Men who catch foul balls without spilling their beer. You won't just smell good either. Your skin will be healthier and more nourished. We make our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. Ingredients like oils, plants, goat's milk, Greek yogurt, oatmeal, shea butter, and citrus. Turn your shower game up to 11. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive.
Hey, this is Josh Hennig. Go to my social media and click my exclusive Dr. Squatch link for your chance to save $10 off your next order of great natural soap, deodorant, and much more. Only with Dr. Squatch.
What do parents think of back to school at Staples, where supplies start at just 25 cents?
Staples has the latest laptops with up to 40% savings.
I may hug the cashier.
That's so embarrassing.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It's a wonderful time at Staples with up to 40% off select tech. Staples.
That was easy.
Visit Staples today or shop online and in the app. Ends 9/12. Exclusions apply.
We all have places to go and things to do, but when you're getting around in Atlantic and Cape May counties this summer, it pays to be street smart. When crossing the street, use crosswalks, pay attention to walk signs, and when driving, the law says it's not enough to yield, we have to stop for pedestrians. Whether you're driving, walking, or biking, have a heads up and put the phone down. Let's all be safe, smart, and aware of our surroundings and others. Street Smart is New Jersey's pedestrian safety education campaign. Learn more at bestreetsmartnj.org.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hanging out at the Piccadilly, nowhere tomorrow, everyone's happy. Beers keep coming, tails piled high with friends and family, spirits to the sky.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him, it's a sack!
Sixers.
Oh, baby!
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Finally! This is Hanging with Hennig.
I have friends everywhere.
On 97.3 ESPN Radio, South Jersey.
In New Jersey. Am I right? Yeah.
Live feed on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It seems to run on some form of electricity. Well, you're not wrong.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together.
Now, here's your host.
He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Josh Hennig.
Hour 3 of Hang with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. I see some more text coming in about LeBron James at 609-403-0973. With Jeff at Summers Point in just a bit. Plus, we got some Phillies conversation coming up. Jeff Kerr, Phillies Insider, will join us coming up at 2:25 to get more into the Phillies. We're playing today at 3:05, so keep that in mind, folks. Phillies an hour earlier due to weather concerns. I actually just got an alert that apparently there's a tornado watch in effect for southern New Jersey. So read into that what you will. But we got a lot to get to this hour as well. Keep the text coming in, 609-403-0973. We talked a lot throughout the day about the Eagles and the Phillies. We're doing some Sixers and LeBron talk right now. And I did want to lay out for everybody before we dive deeper in. You know, anyone who's listened to me long enough is aware of this, but maybe for those of you, maybe you're driving your car, you're stuck at traffic heading to and from the shore, or you're someone who just happened to flip on 97.3 ESPN. But if you've listened to me over the years, whether it's when I've hosted a game night during the week, or I filled in for Mike Gill in the Sports Bash, or I've, teamed up with Billy Schweim in the locker room, I try to go out of my way to understand the different sides of every argument. And so sometimes it compels me to be the guy who's the devil's advocate, who's presenting the other side of the conversation. It doesn't always mean that, that's my personal take on things. So, I have been accused by some people, well, you're anti-LeBron to the Sixers. I'm not anti-LeBron to the Sixers, but I do think that LeBron considering the Sixers and LeBron going to the Sixers are not one and the same. I always go back to my time working in car sales. Okay. I did that. I used to work at a car dealership a decade ago. And one of the things that I I experienced in that form of professional environment is a lot of people love the look. A lot of people love to think about the idea of buying a particular vehicle. People do the same thing. Like I heard Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelce talk about on their podcast, New Heights, about how, one of the things that like pro athletes love to do, they said, is that they love to scan like Zillow and look at different houses. They're never going to buy those houses, but they love to look. I think LeBron loves the process of determining where he wants to play. I think LeBron enjoys being courted, being flirted with, being enticed, being so well regarded that he loves the idea that the whole world is stopping on his access just for him. Like, listen to how he said it the other day when they opened the Shop's live recording of the podcast, when they said to him, "Hey, LeBron, we know you're not making an announcement today, but the whole league is waiting on you."
You know what question we got to ask you? We saved it right here for the shop. Where are you going? Where are you going, brother? We all want to know where you're going, right? Where you going?
We do not have we don't have an announcement to make just yet, guys.
Oh man,
the whole entire world is waiting on this. They're waiting to schedule the games. They're waiting to do everything.
That's crazy. That's crazy, by the way.
He can say it's crazy all he wants, but if you watch the video, there's a smile on his face. He loves it. LeBron loves knowing that he is the center of the sports universe in many ways right now. There's no NFL going on. Baseball is the All-Star break this week. LeBron wanted to lean into this so hard. And part of the reason why he's going to make a decision next week is because NFL training camp is starting up soon. LeBron knows he can only take this so far, so he's milking it for everything it's worth. And so, for me, I'm not anti-LeBron coming to the Sixers. But what I do look at LeBron and say is, he doesn't solve your biggest need. See, I think the acquisition of Jaylen Brown changes how the Sixers are going to function next year. This is now Tyrese Maxey and Jaylen Brown's team. This team is no longer on its axis around Joel Embiid. For years, the 76ers' entire galaxy revolved around the center, the sun, which was Joel Embiid. He ain't the centerpiece anymore. So now you have to make sure the roster is built in a way that aggressively complements Maxey, Jaylen Brown. That's why they drafted VJ Edgecombe. That's why they signed Wade, for example. Because Wade is a 3-and-D guy who can rebound. He's a complementary. The reason why they brought in Simons is because Simons is a great catch and shoot guy who could play off the ball type of scorer. He's like Vinnie Johnson back in the day, if Vinnie Johnson also happened to be Dale Ellis, okay? For those of you who are my age or older, you know the players I'm referencing. Maybe for your younger folks, you know, the Nick Earnshaw is out there. I look at Simons, maybe a combination of Lou Williams and Danny Green, kind of like a combo package. But I digress. So bringing in LeBron elevates your profile. It elevates your team. It makes you an automatic championship contender. But it doesn't address the biggest issue. Now, does LeBron coming to Philadelphia entice a player to take less money to come and address that issue? Very possible. There are numerous reports by a lot of people, from our buddy NBA insider Scoopy Robinson to Brian Windhorst of ESPN to Chris Haynes at Yahoo Sports. There's a lot of reporting out there that there's a slew of free agents who are waiting on where LeBron goes, because that will create a domino effect of what happens next. It's not a coincidence that from James Harden to DeMar DeRozan to Bradley Beal and others, there's a ton of guys who have not signed contracts yet because LeBron has not made a decision. They're waiting for LeBron to make a decision so they can make their decision. So it's very possible that the rebounder that the Sixers need, more help in the defensive post that the Sixers need, more depth on the bench the Sixers need, that may come as a result of LeBron signing here. So I'm not denying that. I think the bigger key to whether LeBron does or doesn't come to Philadelphia is how do we answer the questions when he talks about the criteria that he is looking for when it comes to coming to Philadelphia or any city. He keeps talking about happiness. He talks about an organization that fits his vision of, what he wants to do on a basketball court. He talks about his family again and again, about how, he had to break the news to his daughter that daddy's no longer playing for the Lakers and that he won't be home as much as he used to be. His 11, soon to be 12-year-old daughter, Zuri. His two sons, one's in college, the other one is in the NBA, Bronny. There's numerous reports out there from Dave McMenamin to Brandon Scoopy Robinson have all said LeBron went to LA in part because his wife wanted to go to LA, in part because his business interests were set up in LA, and all the stuff you're seeing this week, the CNBC boardroom collab presentation at Fanatic Fest, the Shop live broadcast at Fanatic Fest, the now hosted Tyrese Halliburton podcast at Fanatic Fest. All of these ventures were launched because of LeBron's media outlet that he has built up and that he used moving to LA to catapult 8 years ago. So LeBron makes moves that have nothing to do with basketball, and basketball is just kind of like a benefit at times. He didn't have to go back to Cleveland. But again, what do all the reports say? He saw Kyrie. He wanted to play with Kevin Love. He saw a pathway to be on a team with a group of guys who he wanted to play with. Do you think Tristan Thompson was really worth all the money that the Cavs gave him 10 years ago? No. But was he LeBron's guy? That's why he got all that money. LeBron moves in ways that people don't always understand. And so you got to listen to what he says more than you got to listen to what the media is saying about him. And I think that is a big part of this conversation. He keeps bringing up family again and again. Well, that's what he did back in 2018. He keeps bringing up his happiness. Sounds like 2018 all over again. He keeps bringing up finding an organization that has the culture and the drive and what fits in with what he wants to do. Sounds like 2014 to me. None of what we're hearing and seeing is new from LeBron. And that's why I love what Dave McMenamin, he said this earlier today on the Hoop Collective podcast with Brian Windhorst. Take a listen.
If he's not 100%,
they're both right, by the way. And if anyone who knows, who's kept a close eye on the LeBron stuff over the last 15 years, know that Dave McMenamin and Brian Windhorst are two of the biggest names of LeBron watch. Okay. They're two of the big three. So I think that, as he said, look, LeBron, if he's not 100%, he's 99%. And maybe the 99% is being influenced by the happiness, the family, the culture, whatever you want to call it. And it's why no matter what outlet you look at, there are 4 teams that have been consistently talked about and are still consistently talked about through this whole process. And Philadelphia is one of them. And that's why the LeBron and Philadelphia situation is real. Jeff from Summers Point chimes in at 609-403-0973. This is Josh. Great show as usual. Let's get LeBron and complete this process with a championship. I'm stocked up with Bud Light and Fireballs for this storm. Just got a tornado warning, so be safe, brother, says Jeff in Summers Point. I guess Jeff got the same tornado warning alert I got on my phone. But Jeff in Summers Point, appreciate you chiming in. LeBron definitely is an opportunity for Philadelphia to, you call it complete the process with the championship. I call it something else. To me, it's erasing the errors of the past. Not to, make it like a hyper spiritual religious thing, but there's always this idea in certain cultures, certain religious and outlets that, you do certain actions to like pay penance for past like indiscretions. And so like the LeBron coming to Philadelphia is a beautiful way to take the Colangelo years and like blot it out. It's a great opportunity to take the mistakes of past Sixers administrations, giving Al Horford all that money and trading away Jimmy Butler, overpaying Tobias Harris, trading the 3rd overall pick to get Markelle Fultz when you could have had Jason Tatum all along. Like, there's so many what ifs with Philadelphia. And so the signing of LeBron in some ways like erases all of those indiscretions. It, rectifies past errors. It, it's like a purge of the darkness of the Sixers years past. So I think Jeff Sarver's point, you're on the right path. Okay. You're on the right idea. I'm not 100% convinced it's Philadelphia because there's reasons for him to go other places. I look at LeBron and the 4 teams he's looking at, and this is how I look at it. I still think Miami, and I could be wrong, I still think Miami is the least likely place to go because if you go based on all the reporting on LeBron and what LeBron has said over the years and all the information out there, the Miami Heat for LeBron in many ways was like when you go to college. He went to college with his buddies. He had a good time. He learned some things. He grew up. But nobody looks at their college experience and says, man, I want to go teach at my college now and deal with those idiots. No one looks at their past college and is like, I'm going to go back to college and mentor. No one goes back and says, I'm now going to go, unless you're really passionate about your career as a teacher, but most people don't go back to the college they attended and become a professor. Very rarely. I don't think LeBron looks at Miami and says, Miami's going to elevate my cachet. So that's why for me, I've always been curious about Miami. I feel like Miami might be a leverage play to like get one of the other 3 to, maybe make their voice note or their pitch or whatever to LeBron a little more enticing. To me, it comes down to those 3, the Cavs, the Sixers, and the Warriors. The Warriors is a family-based decision, and it's a Steph Curry curiosity decision. He would be able to fly to and from home a lot easier from the Bay Area to LA. He's already comfortable on Pacific Coast time. He loves being in California. He loves going out and drinking wine and playing golf. But he also loves Steph Curry. He's won a gold medal with Steph. He played under Steve Kerr. He's friendly with Draymond Green. So there's a lot of familiarity, a lot of connective tissue there. But there's also connected tissue with the Philadelphia 76ers. He works out with Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is a clutch client. He's played with Joel Embiid. He knows Joel Embiid probably better than people think he does. He advocated for Jaylen Brown to be the MVP of the NBA last season. So LeBron looks at Philadelphia, and by the way, he's looked at Philadelphia before. In 2018, he looked into Philadelphia. Philadelphia was a candidate for where he would go as part of his decision 8 years ago. But then there's Cleveland coming home, finishing the story where it started, giving the Cavs a chance to win another championship, taking Cleveland and further cementing his legacy as this legendary figure for that franchise, for the NBA, putting Cleveland back on the map professionally, setting the groundwork for when he does retire, a future where Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell continue the Cleveland legacy. So I see arguments for all of these teams. Ray and EHC chimes in at 69403 on 973. Says, "What's up, Josh? Happy Saturday. I am not a big LeBron James fan. He's definitely getting older, but for some reason, I feel like he's coming to Philadelphia. It would be an epic moment for Philadelphia sports. I believe whether we do good or not, just because the name could be tied to Philadelphia at some point, just like stars of the past, I wouldn't mind seeing him come here, even though I am not a big fan of his." And it's an interesting point. You look at the history of Philadelphia sports, when Dr. J came here, but it got elevated on a level when Moses Malone came here, right? The Phillies were a contender, but when Pete Rose came to Philadelphia, it elevated them to a World Series champion. You're 100% right. There is something about these star athletes when they come to Philadelphia, it does elevate things. Finally, we got Angie from Tuckerton chiming in on the YouTube stream. Angie chimes in on the stream. She says, "It's shenanigans like this that almost make me want to root for LeBron to fail more than I want a parade in Philadelphia. He irks me, but just like AJ Brown, I learned to love him while he was an Eagle." And Angie's right. It's kind of like the Bryce Harper thing. Everyone hated Harper before he came to Philadelphia. Then he comes to Philadelphia, and everybody loves him because he becomes your guy. When they become your guy, your player, and he helps you win, it's a lot easier to accept the extracurriculars, or as Angie calls it, the shenanigans. You're 100% right about that. Speaking of Bryce Harper, coming up on the other side, let's talk some Phillies with Jeff Kerr, Phillies insider. Of course, you could hear Phillies fastball Monday through Friday on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. And of course, Phillies Weekly. That's what the weekend podcast that Jeff Kerr and Oscar Budajin collaborate on. Jeff Kerr joins us, Phillies insider, next here at Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. You see how we are streaming live on YouTube. And next, you can comment on the YouTube stream like Angie Tuckerton did at Josh Hennig. Like, subscribe, share with your friends.
This weekend on ESPN Radio, two iconic franchises kick off the second half in the Bronx.
Way deep and out of here, Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers are in New York to face Ben Rice and the Yankees.
And he drives the pitch, deep right field, way back, gone, home run. Ben Rice.
The Dodgers and Yankees. Coverage begins tonight at 7:30 Eastern and tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball all season on 97.3 ESPN.
Whether you are stocking up for a summer party, a day at the beach, or that golden hour dinner at your favorite BYOB restaurant, your one-stop shopping destination, where I go for every occasion, is Boulevard Super Liquors. Located on Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge, Boulevard Super Liquors has the best selection of craft beer, whiskey, vodka, wines, and tequila in all of South Jersey. Plus, they are minutes from Garden State Parkway, exit 25, so you can easily stop into Boulevard Super Liquors on your travels all around South Jersey. Family owned and operated for 4 generations, Boulevard Super Liquors is my go-to for the best selection at the Jersey Shore. And you'll miss your chance to meet former Eagles player Hollis Thomas thanks to Bird Gang Spirits, plus special prize giveaways when Hanging with Hennig broadcasts live on Saturday, July 25th at Boulevard Super Liquor. On Roosevelt Boulevard at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge, the best selection of beer and spirits in South Jersey.
Summer's here and the heat is on. Attilis Gyms has got you covered with top-tier equipment and their legendary old-school vibe. Whether you're hitting the beach or hitting a personal record, they've got everything you need to stay strong while on vacation. And best of all, no contracts, just fitness on your terms. With 5 convenient locations, Wildwood, Sea Isle, Ocean City, Egg Harbor, and Galloway, your next workout is minutes away. Join Attilis Gyms today.
You've got a big day, so you use Unstoppable Scent Boosters to give your laundry nonstop freshness. So no matter how long the day goes, you
can't stop this power, this walk, this pose, this strut, this look, this talk.
Your clothes will be so fresh you can confidently strut into that end of the day meeting like a
bosses. Let's talk business in my office.
Add new Unstoppable beads to your wash for 24-hour nonstop freshness so you can smell unstoppable.
Cross County Connection presents 6 new South Jersey Connect shuttles, providing fare-free transportation across southern New Jersey. New shuttles include Vineland to Cooper Care Regional and Pureland Industrial Complex to Salem, connecting residents to employment centers, colleges, healthcare campuses, retail destinations, government services, and NJ Transit hubs, all at no cost to the riders. For more information, contact SJTA at 856-229-7571 or visit online at driveless.com.
Now back to Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Josh Hennig back here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. We will get back to text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973. I see more text coming in from Glenn and Absekin and others. But right now, we're going to flip it back to the Phillies conversation because, well, not just because the Phillies moved up their time to 3:05. How about that part of the conversation for today? Phillies moving game times multiple times in the last couple games, but also we are counting down the days to the MLB trade deadline. And the Phillies, well, they got a lot of needs they have to address. And that's why we have Jeff Kerr, Phillies insider, joining us. Of course, you hear him on Phillies Fastball each week with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash, as well as Phillies Weekly on the weekends with Oscar Budajin. Jeff, how you doing today? Oh, well, we had Jeff, and then he disappeared. Jeff got so excited to be on the show that he dropped out of the show. Let's try that again.
Jeff, cut off right there, Josh.
Jeff, you got so excited to be on the show, the internet didn't hold up the excitement.
It must not have, but back to my original point. I'm kind of glad I didn't go today because.
Internet. We got internet problems. Oh boy. Geez. All right, let's see if Jeff can get his internet figured out. Josh Hennig back here in the 97.3 ESPN studios. Let's see if we can get Jeff. Maybe third time is the charm here for Jeff Kerr. It's like he's good, and then it drops for some reason. I'm just going to assume, Jeff, that the internet is playing shenanigans here. Oh, there he goes again. All right, well, we'll try to rectify with Jeff. We have to get Jeff on the phone. We can always get him on the phone. Let me just shoot him a text and let him know if we need to get him on the phone. I can get him on the phone. Here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Jeff Kerr, Phillies insider, will be joining us. We'll reconnect with him momentarily. I'm almost wondering is maybe the weather that's passing through. Okay, he says he's going to try something really quick. So we'll reconnect with Jeff in just a moment here on Hanging with Hennig. By the way, being brought to you this hour by the law offices of Craig A. Altman. And listen, when I came into work today, the traffic was absolutely insane. The massive exodus from the shore, just because some thunderstorms are coming in. You know what? I see everywhere now this summer, car accidents. So if you are unfortunately getting into a car accident, you have a slip and fall at work this summer, you want to call the law offices of Craig A. Altman at 856-327-8899. Because dealing with the insurance companies, you need the tough lawyers who can handle the tough cases. The insurance companies have a game plan. So who's on your side? Don't hope for the best. If you get into a car accident or a slip and fall at work or any type of injury, call the guys who are located right here in South Jersey in Violence Services, all in South Jersey, not the guys in fancy suits and television commercials who are going to hand your case off to somebody who you have no idea if they're any good or not. And guess what? You pay nothing unless they win. The law office is Craig A. Altman at 856-327-8899, or get a free consultation online at craigaltmanlaw.com. All right, let's try again here with Jeff Kerr. Oh, yeah, he dropped out again. And there you go. I think we have to get Jeff on the phone here momentarily. So I think the problem might be that wherever, I know Jeff lives in PA somewhere, so I'm wondering if there's something technically going on up there in where he lives. Let me just tell him maybe he should just call in. There might be some atmospheric issues going on because the storm. So just to reiterate, for those who don't know the whole story, there's actually 3 waves of storms that are passing through the area right now. The second wave is like entering the area momentarily. That's why there's a tornado watch in South Jersey. Oh, okay. I see what the problem is. Your StreamYard storage. I know what's going on. Yeah, I know exactly what the problem is. Jeff's gonna be so mad when he sees this text from me. He's gonna be like, "Are you kidding me?" Oh my goodness! All right, Jeff Kerr calling in here. Let's see if we can get him on. All right, Jeff, we got you on the phone.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, there we go. Well, StreamYard can't stop the phone call, so.
That was just so weird. It like had me in for like 2 seconds and boom, I was out. That's the first time that's ever happened. I've used StreamYard for 7 years now.
I'm telling you, man, Mike, I know other people have had the same problem with StreamYard. If the local recording runs out of space, it just doesn't let you function. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. That's what I thought. Maybe it was something that on my end I logged out, logged in as a guest. I'm like, oh, same issue.
I don't know. Maybe. Listen, I actually assumed the issue, Jeff, was the fact that maybe the storms passing through the area might have been kicking you out. So.
Well, that's what I thought because we do have storms in this area. So that was my initial thought, and they're coming back. So it's just one of those weird days. I'm like, well, we'll try this way, see if it works.
Well, as I was saying before you came on, Jeff, we've had 2 straight days now where the Phillies have moved up their game time. They did it on national television on Thursday, and they're doing it again today. So how do you think that this time change might be affecting the players?
It definitely affected them on Thursday. I'll say that. They won't admit it because they'll say, oh, well, the Mets had to change their time too. But look, I know the players have routines, right? They hit in the cage. There are days they're going to hit in the cage. The weather wasn't ideal Thursday. I mean, I know the bullpen, they like to do their weightlifting session after their bullpen. I don't know if they fully were able to get that in, but, I'm sure like dinners and stuff like that were affected. But at the end of the day, I think it affected the offense more than affected the pitching, right? I think pitchers they're creatures of habit, but at the same time, it's, Aaron Nola even said it. Okay, it's an hour earlier, whatever. I still got to go out there and throw the ball. So, but I definitely think it affected the hitters on Thursday.
So what's interesting, you mentioned about Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola has not pitched bad the last 3 starts. You could argue probably should have been pulled a little bit sooner from his last start. But the reality, Jeff, is that Aaron Nola has actually kind of like figured this out a little bit. The problem is the hitting is letting him down the last 3 starts. This is like Aaron Nola 2018 all over again, Jeff, where it's like the offense, they can't score when Nola's on the mound.
Yeah, I would agree, Josh. And look, he has an ERA under 3.5 over the last 3 starts. I mean, you take that out of Aaron Nola, right? Everybody likes to complain about the home runs, but look, he's giving up solo shots. He's keeping them in the game, and you could argue he probably should have got out of that last game, 6 innings, 1 run. I thought Aaron Nola pitched well Thursday night, definitely well enough to win. It was weird because when he was giving up a bunch of the runs, they were 8-2. So it seems like when Aaron Nola gets run support, he doesn't pitch well. But when he doesn't get run support, he pitches really well. It's kind of been like the story of his career.
And I think that's part of what's, glaring is the problem because, Jeff, I opened the show today talking about, the frustrations with the offense. There were 7 games yesterday around Major League Baseball where teams scored 7 or more runs, Jeff. And these are not like elite offenses. I mean, some of these teams are like the Nationals scoring 23 runs. And I'm not saying I expect the Phillies to score double digits, but the idea is that I see other teams around baseball, Jeff, whose offenses are putting up numbers. Meanwhile, the Phillies, their offense is so incredibly inconsistent. And to me, the centerpiece of that inconsistency right now, for my 2 cents, is Trey Turner.
I would agree with that. Look, and I think we know what Trey Turner is and what he's been this year. I mean, I point out he's hitting 286 since, I think, June 15th, but, Trey Turner, you expect him to hit 286, right? The whole season. He's just not doing that. OPS is under 700. It's incredibly frustrating to watch because he's at the top of the order and he's getting paid what he's getting paid and he's just not getting the production. And it's a shame because this offense for about 3 or 4 week stretch, they carried this baseball team while the pitching was going through their issues. Now the pitching seems to be getting back together and the offense is back to where they normally were. It's an inconsistent baseball team. It's a good baseball team, but it's inconsistent. And that's where I'm curious to see where Dave Dombrowski heads this trade deadline because there's about 3 or 4 needs he needs to address.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Phillies insider Jeff Kerr joining us here on Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Catch him on Phillies Fastball Monday through Friday on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN, and catch Phillies weekly each weekend with him and Oscar Budajin streaming on X and YouTube. Jeff, when you think about Dave Dombrowski, how does he need to delineate these needs? Because this team, they need another right-handed bat, but they also need bullpen help, but they also need back end of the rotation help. So the Phillies, they only have so many assets. So how can Dave Dombrowski address all these issues with the limited number of trade assets he has available?
Yeah, that's some stuff, Josh. I mean, I don't know what direction they should go in. I personally would go out there a left-handed reliever. I think that is their biggest need. You can't just rely on Tim Meza and look, Tim Meza's had a good year for them, but you need Jose Alvarado to be Jose Alvarado, as Don Mattingly said on Thursday, and you need Tanner Banks to come back in some way, shape, or form, and I don't know if that's going to happen. So I think they need a left-handed reliever. That was the Brad Keller injury. I'm curious to see if they bring up Alex McFarland. He's still in the Reading roster, so at least as of today, he's not coming up to Lehigh anytime soon, as far as I know. Although I'm hearing there's talk of considering a promotion, but that's a guy that could help you internally. I guess you're roll with Jonathan Bowen and Ryan Kirkring at this point, which, we did a trust meter for them. They're probably 2 and 3 on the Phillies bullpen trust meter, whatever way you want to describe it. But yeah, they also need a right-handed bat. They need a contact bat. They need a 5th starter. Dave Dombrowski ain't going to fix all this stuff, but there are ways you can get creative I really do think he needs to focus on the pitching because pitching is going to get you to the playoffs.
Jeff, you mentioned about the issue with the left-handed reliever. And I think that's a very interesting conversation because half the reason why Jonathan Boland is here is because you traded Matt Strom because Strom struggled in the postseason and there was the locker room, yada, yada, yada. But still, you came into the year thinking, okay, I got Banks, I got Meza, I got Alvarado, and Alvarado basically has turned into Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Tim Meza is a nice pitcher, but you can't go into the postseason just depending on him. And Tanner Banks, I think we can say is a disappointment, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, I mean, you want to get on Dave Dombrowski for this, that's fine, but I don't think anybody in the Phillies organization thought Tanner Banks was going to have the year he had, nor Jose Alvarado. I mean, hindsight's 2020, probably shouldn't have given Jose Alvarado that $9 million option, picked it up, but at the same time, you're going off the track record. Even before the suspension, like, he was still pretty good. It wasn't like he was using a weight loss drug in 2022, 2023 for you. So, Jose Alvarado has been a pretty reliable pitcher for them. It makes sense to bring him back. Tim Meza was the last reliever to make this team, and he's their best left-handed reliever right now. It's crazy how baseball works, and I always just think it's ironic when you're blaming anybody in the front office or you're blaming the manager for something that is happening in July when you never would have expected it in March.
Jeff, you mentioned about what we expected before the year. I think the other part of what we expected before the year was there was the expectation that Andrew Painter was going to be a key part of this rotation. Well, now he's in the minor leagues having to find himself, Jeff. It feels like there was a lot of poor planning when it came to this roster. And that's why I wasn't mad at Rob Thompson necessarily. I'm not mad at Don Mattingly now, because to me, you basically put a lot of confidence in a group of guys who have just been unable to deliver.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And look, it's, I told Mike in spring training, you got really high expectations for Andrew Painter. I don't see it. I think if he gives you a 4.5 ERA, that's good enough, right? And I think they were thinking that. Maybe 3.5 to 4 ERA would be tremendous for Andrew Painter right now. You wouldn't need a fifth starter. They put a lot of faith in Justin Crawford, and give Justin Crawford a lot of credit. He adjusted, and now he's in against lefties. He's in against righties. He's probably should be playing every day, but you can't take Derek Hill out of the lineup. So that's a good platoon you got there. That was a good addition for them. So you kind of figured that part out. You need a bench piece. You relied on Otto Kemp. And look, he's hitting AAA. He's mashing AAA right now. And they want him to get every day at bats, but they rely on Otto Kemp to be a pinch hitter. And, I know Dave Gallagher comes on this show and he said it. Like, it's difficult, right? This isn't something that you teach a 24, 25-year-old kid. You got to have years of experience. That's why Derek Hill was a perfect get for them. It's just the guys that they relied on internally to fix their issues, really only one panned out. And I think they were hoping for 2 or 3 to pan out.
And I think that's part of the issue. Jeff Kerr joining us here. Of course, you hear Phillies Fastball during the week on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. The aforementioned former Phillies player Dave Gallagher joins Mike Gill on the Sports Bash Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. Jeff, I think part of the frustration, at least for people like myself and other fans, is in a city where every other executive is being aggressive, it feels like Dombrowski needs to step up his game. Howie Roseman is trying to fix the Eagles roster, what feels like 365, right? Danny Briere tried to get Leo Carlson. He's trying to make moves, right? Mike Gansey go out and trades for Jaylen Brown, and now the Sixers have a possibility of getting LeBron James. And it feels like Dave Dombrowski is the guy who just wants to keep telling us what he did 20 years ago for the Tigers.
It's funny you mentioned that, Josh, because even today, Josh Harris is making a play for LeBron James, right? He went and talked to him. You could tell the Sixers want him. Like you said, Dan Breer didn't get Leo Carlson. Everybody's mad he didn't get Leo Carlson, but you kind of knew that he was a restricted free agent. Anaheim was always going to match it. So, but at least he tried, right? I think Dave Dombrowski was aggressive last year. He got Johan Duran. He traded McAble. Everybody's upset about McAble. McAble's hurt right now. Eduardo Taillé could be a good player for them. I don't know, but I just think it's been tough for Dave Dombrowski because, and again, I think the Phillies farm system is better than what maybe, say, a Baseball America would rank it. I don't think they're great, but who are you really trading right now, right? Dante Nori's hurt. You don't hear any updates from the organization. When you try to ask, it's the same old thing. working out. Okay, well, he hasn't played since June 5th. I've been running a lot. He's not in the lineup again. That could have been a trade asset. Alex McFarland is a trade asset. That's why he's not really getting promoted. They're trying to trade him.
Right.
Gage Wood could be somebody that they could trade. I don't know if they want to do that, though, because you need starting pitching depth. And again, Dave Dombrowski is aggressive in certain ways. It's just, I think everybody's waiting for, like you said, Josh, that Jaylen Brown type. I know we're doing our sport here, but that big move, I just don't know if there's a big move to make.
Maybe not, but you know how fans are. They want to see action, Jeff. And guess what? We got to wake up more weeks so we get to the MLB trade deadline. I know Jeff Kerr will be all over it with the Sports Bash and Mike Gill, Phillies Fastball Monday through Friday. And then, Jeff, I thought everybody about Phillies Weekly this weekend.
Yeah, Phillies Weekly is going to be good. So we got Corey Nio on from Philly Sports Network. He's like me. He does a lot of the minor league stuff. So we're going to be talking about that, probably talk about the trade deadline. Me and Oscar Budahin. It's an interesting Phillies Weekly this week because really there hasn't been that much baseball, right? We're only going to have one series and probably going to be previewing the Dodgers and the Yankees. That'll be a big series. But, I mean, look, even when I was on with Oscar and Mike this week, we talked more about the All-Star game than anything else because and it was a great All-Star game. I mean, Philly should be proud of how they represented. But I'll just say this, Josh. I'm excited for the trade deadline. I hate how it's later, though. I miss the days where it was July 31st.
Yeah, you and me both. This whole August 3rd thing really messes with my schedule. And I say that selfishly as a guy who has to produce radio shows. So,
yeah, I mean, I hate it, right? Like, I'm always like, my birthday's August 1st. I'm like, oh, the trade deadline. It's either July 31st, right before my birthday, or it's August 1st. And I get really excited. And I still miss the non-waiver trade deadline and the waiver trade deadline. Now we got it all at once, but it is kind of better it's August 3rd because there's more teams now in the mix. And that's the other thing, Josh. Who's buying and who's selling? There's really only about 5 teams that you could say they're definitely sellers.
That's very true. We'll be tracking all of it. Jeff, appreciate you jumping on today. I know the StreamYard didn't work, but we made the phone work. So we bypassed new technology with old technology. How about that?
You know what? Sometimes it's never a bad thing to go back to the old way.
What is this, The Mandalorian? This is the way?
Yeah, this is the way. By the way, did you see that movie? Did you see the Mandalorian movie?
I actually did not get to see it. I'm waiting for it to come out on Disney Plus. So,
okay, but you've seen all 3 seasons.
I saw all
right?
3 seasons. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if you saw all 3 seasons, you'll love the movie.
I figured as much. It was just, you know what happened? The movie came out the same weekend. I had 20 other things going on, and you know how it is when in this work that we do. Sometimes the work takes us away from the real world, and then when the weekend ends, we're like, "What happened?"
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, I want to go see the Odyssey this weekend. No idea what I'm going to see it because it's like a 3.5-hour movie,
right?
And you got to plan to go see it in IMAX because that's what they're telling you, and it's going to be hard to do that. Like I want to do it Sunday, but I got Phillies Weekly.
Hey, you're busy. You're working.
Yeah, I'm a busy man. We're adults now.
Exactly. Jeff, take care, man.
See you, Josh.
Josh Hennig back here on 97.3 ESPN. Always great to chop it up with Jeff Kerr. Again, Phillies Weekly tomorrow. Phillies Fastball Monday through Friday on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, don't forget Hanging with Hennig being brought to you by my friends over at Stone Harbor Bar and Grill. Listen, just because we got some crazy weather today doesn't mean you don't need to have a place to land to watch the Phillies game. Or how about the World Cup tomorrow at 3 o'clock? Well, why don't you watch it on 36 brand new 4K TVs? Yes, you only can get that at the Stone Harbor Bar and Grill right there on 96th Street. I was there last week watching the World Cup, then the Phillies game, then the World Cup, then Conor McGregor. I watched there all at Stone Harbor Bar and Grill. And guess what? I had the incredible wings. Yes, the best wings on 7 Mile Island. You get them at Stone Harbor Bar and Grill. So whatever the occasion, whether you're going out to watch the game or you're just trying to go out with some friends and family for lunch or dinner, my go-to spot in the summer in South Jersey is the Stone Harbor Bar and Grill.
The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street is Stone Harbor's most complete entertainment experience. Great food, fun, and libations, and newly remodeled for 2026. The same great owners and all your favorite menu items remain, and now we've taken things up a notch with a brand new bar, new sound system, 36 brand new 4K TVs, and more. No matter where you sit, you always have a perfect sight line to the big game, and you've got to try our mouth-watering new menu items. Start your meal with blackened scallops, homemade fried pickles, or a cheeseburger flatbread. Try our new Chicago-style dog, or the Mary Ann sandwich, a chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, and sharp provolone on world-famous Rando's Bakery Atlantic City bread. The Stone Harbor Bar and Grill sources only the top ingredients and serves up the best quality food. Voted best wings of Stone Harbor and the Jersey Shore by Lord of the Wings. Prime rib nights Friday and Saturdays, rib nights on Sundays, and Mike the Magician Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The newly remodeled Stone Harbor Bar and Grill on 96th Street in the heart of Stone Harbor. Open 11:30 a.m. till midnight, 7 days a week. Go to stoneharborbarandgrill.com or call 609-961-3534 for more.
For over 22 years, Riptide Bait and Tackle has been the go-to spot for anglers of every level. They've got everything you need, including fresh bait, the largest selection of gulp in South Jersey, crabbing supplies, rods, reels, tackle, apparel, and more. Even famous Stocks pound cakes. Riptide is a Shimano top shelf dealer and a Penn Gold label dealer, plus home of the famous Riptide Rodders. Follow Riptide Bait and Tackle on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for daily fishing reports. And stop in before your next trip.
Whether you're behind the wheel or on a bike, safety starts with following the law. New Jersey bicyclists riding at night must use a white front light and red rear light visible from 600 feet away. Drivers, remember the safe passing law. Give at least 4 feet when passing people walking or biking, or slow down until it's safe. Share the road, save a life. A message from the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic and Safety and Cross County Connection. Learn more at driveless.com.
I've always wanted to learn French, but the app I tried didn't help.
If you want to memorize words in another language, there's an app for that. But if you want to really learn another language, there's Babbel. Babbel was designed by over 200 language learning experts to be the most effective way to learn another language.
With other language learning apps, I was just playing games. I wasn't really learning. Babbel's different. Every time I open the app, I can choose to work on my writing, speaking, or listening. And it saves my mistakes for me to review, so I'm constantly improving. Babbel feels like it was created intentionally by people who really know what you need to learn another language. Before Babbel, I thought I just wasn't good with languages. But now I'm speaking French. Tout ça, c'est grâce à Babbel.
Want to really learn another language? Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com to save up to 50%. Babbel.com.
Hi, this is Billy Schwein from the Locker Room on 97.3 ESPN. Looking for a fun new way to enjoy South Jersey? Stop by Andy's E-Bikes on Route 9 in Galloway, right next to historic Smithville. Andy's E-Bikes carries a full line of electric e-bikes, smooth, comfortable, and fun to ride. Whether you're cruising through the neighborhood, heading down to the shore, or just looking to get outside more, stop in, take a test drive, and see why so many people are loving e-bikes. Visit andysebikes.com or stop by Andy's E-Bikes on Route 9 in Galloway, next to historic Smithville.
Something good to know from First Bank of Sea Isle City. We have all of today's innovative banking products just like the big banks, but we offer something they can't. A personal community focus. Let's get you started with Bill Pay. You save time when you pay your bills online. It's fast, easy, and convenient. First Bank of Sea Isle City. A community bank that delivers more for you every day. Personal service, today's technology, from the people who truly care. Learn more at firstbankseaisle.com.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Bridgeton Auto Mall is celebrating America's 250th anniversary by giving back to our community in a big way. Now through July 31st, you can win your share of $25,000 in cash. Buy a new or pre-owned vehicle, and you'll be entered for a chance to win $20,000. Visit our service department for maintenance or repairs. You'll be entered to win $5,000. Join us for our grand drawing event on Saturday, August 1st with live music, barbecue, family fun, and your chance to win big.
No purchase necessary. See dealer for complete details. Visit BridgetonAutomall.com.
When it comes to injuries, you can't afford to get it wrong. Insurance companies, they delay, deny, and pay as little as possible. Who's on your side? The law offices of Greg A. Altman. Car accidents, slip and falls, serious workplace injuries. They build cases to put real pressure on the other side. And you pay nothing unless they win. Don't guess, don't wing it. Call 856-327-8899 or visit GregAltmanLaw.com. Local office in Vineland, backed by a Philly firm that knows how to win.
You're hanging with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM.
People will come, Ray.
And on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
People will most definitely come.
Streaming live on YouTube, Instagram, and the X platform.
Wrapping up final edition, final segment of Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, we will be back at Boulevard Super Liquors next Saturday. Yes, next Saturday for Night in Venice weekend at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge in Marmora. We will be there with Hollis Thomas, former Eagle Hollis Thomas, thanks to Bird Gang Spirits. We'll also be giving away a signed Jalen Hurts jersey along with other great prizes. But you must stop on for Hanging with Hennig, myself and Mike Carlin, broadcasting live from Boulevard Super Liquors next Saturday. And then the week after that is our tentative make-up date for, we were supposed to be in Sea Isle City today, but we are doing a make good on Saturday, August 1st. Thanks to Zia Nicola Pizza, Auntie Anne's Pretzels, Big Dipper Ice Cream, and the Juice Pod. And again, if you're out and about in the Sea Isle area, please visit them this weekend over at the Promenade Deck in between 42nd and 43rd Streets. Check out the text board one more time for wrap up the show, 609-403-0973. Shout out to Rico. He was listening to the Locker Room with Billy Schweim and Hanging with Hennig today. So thank you, Rico, for tuning in. Glenn from Absecon says about LeBron James, says signing LeBron at this point in his career doesn't by any means guarantee a championship. He may be more distraction than anything else with the circus he brings. If you win with him, it's because of him. If you lose, everybody else's fault. I'm personally over LeBron, says Glenn and Absecon. I think, Glenn, whether it's you, whether it's Jeff at Summers Point, whether it's Ray at EHT, Angie and Tuckerton, most people in this area are not LeBron James fans. But as Angie pointed out, if he comes to Philadelphia, he becomes your guy, Glenn. So, and listen, I'm not a LeBron James guy either. During those Miami Heat years, I was always more of a Dwayne Wayne guy than a LeBron James guy. My favorite guy in the NBA today is Giannis. All right. I'm a Tyrese Maxey guy. I'm not a Joel Embiid guy. So I totally get where you're coming from. I want a certain style. I like a certain style of basketball. I like a certain style of athlete, a certain style of personality. But for whatever your dislike or disdain for LeBron James, the reality is that he elevates your organization. He puts you in a position to be a championship caliber team. And who cares if you win because of him? The Sixers didn't win 83 because of Dr. J necessarily. They won because of Moses Malone. When the Phillies won in 1980, nobody was ignoring the fact that they won because of Pete Rose. I go back to the Philadelphia Eagles. Nobody ignores the reality that the Eagles won a championship with Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator, but lost one with Jonathan Gannon as DC. So we could do this all day where it's like, if you win, it's because of one person, you lose because of somebody else's fault. I think that's part of the business. That's part of the deal. That's part of the what's the term? The deal you sign with the devil, right? And I'm not saying LeBron is the devil. From what I understand, LeBron is actually like a really great human being and etc. But I do think there's a part of him that enjoys the circus. He loves being the center of attention. And you know what? When you're at that level of success, you're not like everybody else. He's not like you and me. He's not like Glenn and Absecon or Ray and EHT or Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. He's a completely different animal. To be that level of success, that be level of business, professional success, basketball success, you're different than everybody else. And that attracts a circus. Like Tom Brady now saying he wants to get in a WWE match. He wants to be a heel on a story. Like, normal people don't want to be the heel. Tom Brady does. You don't get to that level of success without being a little different. All right. Thanks to Jeff Kerr, Scott Laughlin, Andy McNamara, and all of you for hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN.
Sunday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein, producer Alex Berardis, and Vince Foch join me in the studio.